Inside you are two wolves. One is right and the other is wrong. And both of them are playing in this game. Star Wolves versus Wolves Esports. And we're getting ready to go for our matchup. Welcome to the analyst desk of the Command Center. Ahoy. I'm Dominic, your host. With me are Mandy and James. Hello, friends. How you doing?
Doing all right. I just dropped my pen.
No, I don't think they could hear that on broadcast. You could have played that off.
To be fair, look, Kix used to drop his pen around all the time. So.
Look, I'm doing all right. I'm probably doing better than both of these teams right now. Things are looking dire for both the Dire Wolves and the normal Wolves. It's desperation time. Both teams yet to find a win. Both teams need one badly.
I saw them howling at the moon last night.
Well, they should have been practicing instead. I don't know why they were doing that.
This woman is in like the most horrendous place to be in the entirety of Canada. But she has chosen to be between these two nerds. Dire Wolves and Wolves Esports is about to begin. I want to fill things up here, or fill people in on Dire Wolves again, because we got to see them for the first time yesterday, but not many people might know much about the team. Just think, oh, it's an APAC team. What are they going to do? But you know, there's more than just, oh, it's APAC.
I think so. It's more just APAC, in my opinion. These guys are the top of APAC South, undeniably, for sure.
Oh, look at him! He's dying on the inside.
Surely this is the truth.
Oh, they were. Are they still? That's the sad part, right?
At the top of APAC South.
Yeah.
There you go. These guys definitely have been the top of APAC South. They topped Stage 1, they topped Stage 3 in really dominant fashion. Stage 2, they had it a bit rough, but they were in Sweden, and they had a really good showing against FaZe. They pulled some big upset games. Here at SI, they've had a bit rough. They've had it very, very rough with the two roster changes that they've had to move. They've had to rebuild, but this new iteration of Dire Wolves, I actually don't mind too much. I think they have a lot going for them still, and I just think they need a bit more time to brew.
Well, that's the big pivotal thing. We've talked about how they've only had 2 months to play with these two new players that they've brought on, Harambe and Ray. Well, both former players from this roster, but now that things didn't work out with ED and Reaps, they've had to make these last-minute changes. Harambe's come back in from the analyst position. Ray has been brought back onto the roster after taking a bit of a vacation when, you know, they got rid of him about a year or so ago. Now he's back. Dire Wolves, it's a miracle that they're even here. They, by all means, should not have won that LCQ in APAC. Everyone was putting their money on teams like Sandbox, Bliss, Knights, and yet, against all odds, they are here at SI.
So they make it here, and on day one, unfortunately, it's not really, you know, the best of times. They were going up against a hot M&M, still lost 4-7, 4-7, and that's just looking at M&M at SI. That's all right, because M&M have been doing quite well. We'll get to see them against Liquid. That'll be the real challenge. We just talked about it. But what is that X factor that Dire Wolves can bring? Because you're saying yourself, James, there's no way they should have won LCQ. There's something that had happened. A player, a way of playing in the game that pushed them over the edge.
This is the thing, Dire Wolves, I think, historically throughout APAC South have always been an exciting team to watch because they play make like crazy. And even in rounds where you're wondering how are they going to find a way in this, they have a really flexible roster with some serious firepower that they can always find a way to force the issue. And Pika is often the front line of that. Reaps was as well before he decided to leave the team. But now what Dire Wolves are left with is Pika as their primary fragger, and he has been one of the best players in the tournament for fragging so far. Coming in, he had one of the best ratings out of any player at SI who played it throughout the 2022 season. However, we did see him get quite shut down yesterday in their match. So it's a real question for me whether Dire Wolves are going to be able to activate, spring into action, and overcome some of these weights that have been bearing them down.
To me, Dire Wolves are the team of miracles. These guys have got resilience that is like no other. I've never seen a team go through the adversity that these guys have gone through outside of the server to go back into it and just bring 100% and perform, rebuild their structure, rebuild their strat book completely in the span of 2 months and be ready internationally. There is not that many players, there's not that many teams of that caliber. And it's, yeah, to me, this is the team of miracles.
From one pack to the next is Wolves Esports on the opposite end. It's Wolverhampton, but they're actually French, led by a Belgian.
All right, fair enough.
That kind of tells something. But what can Wolves Esports bring here? Because a disappointing run, even though we were looking forward to them the entire year.
Look, Wolves might be the most disappointed team at Six Invitational right now. The best team from the EUL season is now on an 8-map losing streak. They seem chalked. This is not the third place on the world standings team that we expected coming into Six Invitational. We know what these guys are capable of. The fantastic Frenchmen, they have achieved so much within Europe, and they've been to every single major this year. Here at Six Invitational, they're yet to string together more than a couple of rounds in the 2 matches. They have lost to M&M and Sonics. If there's any place where these guys can finally set the record straight and refine their confidence, it's against Direwolves.
You know, Cal from Eminem, the CEO of Eminem, came along and he roasted me in the green room. He was like, how dare you vote for Wolves against us? Wolves haven't performed in a BO3.
This is the first person, the same person that, you know, had a tweet, oh, happy birthday, Mandy.
He called me out. He was like, Wolves, these guys haven't performed in a BO3 in a very long time. This is true. Now that he mentioned this to me, Wolves, they didn't do very well in the EUL finals. Eminem were able to take them down 2-0 pretty cleanly as well. And honestly, Cal, look, I'm going to give it to you. You're right. Wolves, they seem like the BO1 team. They don't ever seem to show up in these really long stamina or endurance-based matchups.
And in fact, looking back over history, I'm pretty certain that Wolves have never won a BO3. Now, there are some French league matches that they could perhaps count, but we're in the big leagues now. This is not just a national tournament. It's not even just EUL. This is the global stage, and they can't afford to be a round-robin team any longer.
Yeah, not only that, but we're going to dive into the veto in a little bit.
Yes.
Wolves, the thing about these guys is that I just think that in general, compared to their EU counterparts, they have a much smaller map pool. These guys really are sort of stuck in their ways. They have these 3 or 4 maps that they're really, really confident on, and then maybe another 1 or 2 that they can play. But in comparison to all the other teams here at SI, it just feels like they're not quite as prepared.
Let's take a look then at our map pool. Some would say they are over-prepared, but just it looks very different. It looks very similar in the server when you're underprepared or overprepared and you trip over yourself. Here, 4 bans are through Wolves. Get the first pick on Kafe. Let's start off on the attack. And well, I say Wolves, the Wolves Esports team. And for second is Direwolves. They pick Skyscraper. Start off on the attack with a decider being Oregon. One thing's for sure, Wolves will win this match. Which one, who knows? Good luck to our casters. Gonna have a lot of work to do with that, but we're not going to them yet. I almost scared my analysts in here, but that was just a joke. So go ahead, what do you think about this ban phase?
I think for this ban phase, just going straight to the Wolves, touching back on that point about them having a very small map pool, they always have their auto bans of Theme Park and of Border, and it's been pretty consistent in the past few months of their best of 3 veto history. And I think them not having expanded their map pool as much as I'd hoped that they would have in the last 3 months is really coming to bite them back. And preparing for BO3s is a completely different beast to BO1s.
You're talking about how it's fairly easy to predict the Wolves the map bans rather. I think Direwolves also incredibly predictable in the 2 that they have banned. Clubhouse and Bank are their 2 most banned maps, and they've had some losses recently, even if they're not the best maps for the Wolves themselves. Now, there was one surprise to me in the first 4 bans, and that was actually Wolves going for Theme Park. Yeah, they do ban it a lot, but it does leave Skyscraper in. And Skyscraper is Wolves' second most banned map, and it is one of Direwolves' best maps, including some victories at previous majors to teams like FaZe Clan. So it does seem like a bit of a gamble to me that Wolves have let Skyscraper in, and I think that they are going to find quite a challenge ahead of them in map 2.
But still seeing Wolves Esports happy and smiling is something great, because over the past couple of days it has been, you know, nothing but rain. Even though they're a French team, they've really been echoing, I guess, the English weather, is that the org is from. But here, they seem to be a bit more motivated.
There are a lot of similarities between these 2 teams, and it just begins with the name. But one huge difference is the amount of expectation on these 2 teams. Direwolves are pretty much the lowest rated team at the tournament. They didn't make it to SI through points. They had to go through the LCQ, and they had to go it through, let's face it, the weakest region in APAC. They've just had 2 roster changes, one of which was not by choice, and the other was impacted by external circumstances. Wolves, on the other hand, these are EUL champions. They should be capable of more than this, and they are devastated should they be able to lose to a team like Direwolves.
All right, our game's ready. I need a name. made out of 2 different words. And the score.
Sure. I'm actually going to go with Direwolves for this one. Direwolves 2-1. I am going to back in my boys from APAC South. I have no shame anymore. It's a bias one. It's a full bias one.
Fair enough.
I think Kafe is going to go to Wolves. I think Skyscraper is going to go to Dire Wolves. And I think Oregon should be a really tight game. I think Dire Wolves will take this. And yes, there is an element of bias and hope in my voice, but I think that in where these 2 teams are at right now, Dire Wolves have nothing to lose, and Wolves Esports can't say the same.
If we ever have an event in APAC, Taiwan, Singapore, whatever, I want to hear that, but with the crowd around. That'll be something else. No, Mandy, thank you so very much. Thank you, James. We're going to toss it to our casters. We'll try to make sense of the Wolves against the Wolves. Who wins? Well, the viewers, as Ace would say. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milos. Welcome over to the desk with me and Tim. We're getting ready for this game, and Tim's had a late breakfast. Just sinking your teeth into that pan of chocolate there, Tim.
I think you'll find it's a chocolatine, that one, Des.
No,
We're in Montreal now.
It's a pan of chocolat. You had one a month ago in Paris.
Honestly, you need to get up to speed. It is a chocolatine, and it is delicious.
It's a pan of chocolate. It's literally, why is it called a chocolatine, Tim?
Because it is. It's completely different, Des, and it's beautiful.
Well, I'm sure there's a horde of Canadians out there that I don't want to upset, so...
Chocolatine.
We'll go with that one. Wolves versus Direwolves, a really interesting fixture coming up here. It has not been the best start for our European team, is it, Tim? They've had a really terrible start. They're down 0-2.
It's not been good.
The thing is about them, I used to always joke back when they were known as Vitality, they are the most consistently inconsistent team that you can see. I'd say these days they are consistently inconsistent. They are fantastic online, like brilliant team, top in the world. Then it comes to LAN, and they suck. It's a real problem. They're down 0-4. They've lost to Sonics, lost to M&M. If they lose here to Direwolves, suddenly things start looking, ironically, really, really dire. And they maybe should take that small word off Direwolves and put it in front of their own, because they seem unable to really deliver when it comes to these big events. But many of you at home still back them. Let's find out if they can get the work done here on Kafe.
It's just such a disappointment, and I don't mean that about the team. Like, the team are fantastic. You know, they're always... Sorry?
How you feel?
No, what I mean is that I really want them to turn up and show everybody what they show us in EUL.
Yeah.
You know, they're just so good over the year. You know, we talk about their ability to play. One of the big things for Wolves that I've always enjoyed is, or at least, you know, over the last 12 months has been a key characteristic, is their ability to play short-handed. They'll go down to 3-4 players versus 5 maybe, and they've just got such a good ability to be able to sort of section up the rest of the round and still find fights that are in their advantage until they've leveled those numbers up. And it's just not something that we're seeing them do, and it's a problem. So hopefully, you know, they can show us their best and put this sort of LAN curse to bed, as it were, because I just feel like get a best of 3 win under their belt, and it'll break the seal. Okay. Optimism, I know.
There is a lot.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the optimism.
Let's ground us in reality again for a second. The desk have already gone through a few of these, but it's worth reiterating. Not a single player from Wolves is positive on KD so far. Not a single player has a rating above 1. The closest is Mowgli at 0.95. P4 and Shinka are the 2 lowest rated EU players. A car crash of a start to the competition is only the way that it can be summarized. They have got some work to do, and I really hope they've used these last 24 hours to get ready, broken out of that mental space, because I think it's very clearly a mental issue holding them back at this point, and see if they can fight their way through. But also, let's not forget about Direwolves. I know we're obviously picking up the boys from our region, but Direwolves themselves, sure, they've lost 1 series. I like to give a team a couple of series, really, across 4, 5, 6 maps to really get a feel for them. Direwolves didn't play terribly in their game against M&M. Sure, M&M was slow to start on this exact map. They were down 0-4 whilst Direwolves were absolutely flying, but then a very quick turn of fortunes came in with M&M winning 7 rounds back-to-back. They absolutely crushed them. But we know Direwolves have got the potential, we know they've got the capability. We'll see how they fare on their defensive side here, going out immediately up on the top floor with some reinforcements out towards Piano side to try and slow down the Wolves. And this is not all going to get confusing, saying Direwolves and Wolves throughout this entire series.
I can't imagine it being a problem whatsoever, just like when Astro plays Astro in a couple of days. I can't see that being any issue whatsoever.
Absolutely not, Tim. Can't wait.
Not at all. We apologise. We apologise in advance for any confusion confusion between the two names of today's teams, but we will do our absolute utmost for you, and we'll try and keep that counter down at 0. We've got Harambe. He's going to be watching on the pulse, just in and around that mid-level. Not a surprise, seeing as the defense is the top floor. He's going to have Nitro in hand. I don't know, has he got any others? No, nobody along with him. Sometimes you'll get a second operator with a Nitro come along to play with that pulse underneath, and they can just sort of laser guide those explosives.
I really thought you were going to say the full thing.
Just teasing on day 3 does.
Absolutely, teasing through the skylight hatch here. Oh, not through the hatch, under the skylight, sorry. It's Mowgli on the nut, what we spoke about a second ago. Has 2 nades in back pocket, 2 also joined up by the sledge. The Yardaban being taken away does mean you're not going to see 6 nades being stacked up, which a few teams have tried to employ throughout the first couple of days, but it doesn't stop a wonderfully rolled through nade straight on the way through to pick out his man. And that's without any vertical control below. You've still got the Paul sat down here, waiting to see what's going on. And he's got a pretty good idea, thanks to that cardiac sensor, revealing there is a player on the east window rappel.
Not a huge surprise to see Mowgli opening things up there, as we've said. I think it's probably fair to describe, the best of a bad bunch so far out of the first couple of games. So Wolves, Mowgli is certainly sat at the top in terms of stats. But yeah, it's been difficult for a lot of these guys, and I'm hoping to see them shake that off a little bit today. On both teams, Mowgli, he's on the hunt. He's
got a drone, though.
He's the perfect operator for it, but no, he can't react quick enough, and Pecan's going to slam him and take him out of the round.
He's literally got a drone in the room telling him where the player is. Now, sure, confusion of comms can be a thing that weighs in there, but you've got to be aware. Surely your teammate is screaming, he's pushing door, and you're ready to pre-fire. But nothing comes out. He's looking far too deep in the room and loses what should have been a guaranteed 1v1.
Really got to be picking that up, as you say. Yeah. My concern for Mowgli was actually Harambe off in reading. That was my concern, is he going to get picked up from the doorway? Does he know there's a second man down there? I didn't think that it was going to be Pecan that managed to get that kill, but regardless, it is currently 4 versus 3 in favour of Direwolves. They're looking fairly comfortable at the minute. Raz is going to try and make a move here. He's going to go in through Cocktail Balcony. I don't think the Direwolves are actually aware that this has happened. He manages to waltz on into sight, but they're certainly watching. They know now, but no, they've turned their back.
The timing,
Raz. There's a freebie opportunity, but no, Racy manages to get that kill, and that leaves us now in a 1 versus 3. Bibu's been quiet so far this tournament, and he's got no choice but to try and clutch out here. 10 seconds, he's planting the diffuser.
This is a freebie kill, though, coming up from wide as well as Harambe swings round and gets the finish off. Wolves, again, lacking some of that polish that we've seen online. It's the theme of the last couple of days for me has been drone count. We commented a lot on this with SSG versus Elevate yesterday, but it feels the same again. Coming into the last 60 seconds, 1 drone out in the field, a couple in back pocket. It got rolled out in the end, one of those drones that were in back pocket to watch through the bar area as the execute came through, but they were pushing in blind, Tim. You saw that from the way they were taking the gunfights. They weren't sure where these players were. It was very much relying on a bit of intuition and reaction in the moment that Direwolves were just far better at. So for Wolves, we need to see more teamwork in the early round because it is sorely missing.
It is, and I'm sort of reluctant to say it, but if you remember, Des, back around 2020, I think it was around the time that we did our first SI, long time ago. The Rogue roster, as it was at the time, had this same issue almost. It was known that they'd get to LAN dominantly and then just not perform when it came to that LAN environment.
I remember.
And we do see it occasionally for teams, and I don't want to say that that is the case for Wolves, because there are things that are happening that are fixable, like you say, that information, the comms, there's things there that can clearly be improved upon, but you just start wondering how much of it is the mental game, as a player, when the first couple of matches, it starts getting said, and you think, nah, it's not. Nah. And then when you're 6-7 matches in, you just got to wonder how much does that creep into the mentality, and I'm sure it does have an impact, and I'm like I say, I'm hoping that they can shake it off. But also, Direwolves, second game out, they've got a real opportunity here.
I mean, Pecan was the one trying to get cheeky there as well, straight at the doorway, hoping to catch him off guard, and a good idea, because at the time, Wolves had 7 drones in back pocket, 0 out on the field. They would have had no information as to what's going on. Here they've set themselves up and posted themselves around these key couple of locations and have got a couple of kills early into the round, but that is about it. I think Mogi there almost being C4'd out as well. I wasn't quite sure what it was that caught him, but he's down on low HP regardless, finds the head of Harambe, and without even getting inside the building, Wolves have found themselves 4 kills. All the work being done by these two, Mowgli and P4, who may have just won the round single-handedly.
Jackie Wu's going to manage to pick up Mowgli with the Auda, but you've got to imagine that it's surely a matter of time here. He's on about 75, 80 health, and he's got a lot of work to do. Sees the opportunity up above him, but just can't find the shots, can't find the man. Just aware of a potential drop into utility, but the hatch hasn't actually been.
They've got time.
So, yeah, Wolves not rushing here at all. It's a hatch that you'd expect the defenders potentially to have opened up to allow themselves to drop back to site from the vertical hole, but not something that they did. But I like this from Wolves. Yes, there's only 1 player left. Yes, they could run in and just try and kill him, but they're not rushing things. They're doing a proper job, and they've got themselves an easy kill at the end of it without throwing lives away, and that's the way they need to be finishing rounds off here, because it's going to build the confidence.
That's exactly it, and you can hear it in the boys there as well. Really excited and gassed up by that, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of been a tactic into this game. Every small victory they find, get excited about it, build that energy up, because clearly it has been missing. But again, one thing I'll probably pull back to is, for me in that round, it's very similar to the story we had in the Lost One fixture yesterday. Lost One had their first game, formerly known as Team One, did combine with Los Grandes, hence why they're now called Lost One. They were getting very aggressive in the early round, looking for gunfights and 1v1s when they didn't need to be taken. And Direwolves were kind of doing the same there. You know, if you've watched back any of Wolves' games, that they struggle with this sort of teamwork that normally gives them such a presence online. You know, I'm so used to seeing them just collapse on site as a 5 and absolutely overwhelm their opposition with chaos, but that's been missing the last couple of days. But in that round, instead, Direwolves are the ones putting themselves in less than ideal situations, going for these 1v1s. And if anything you don't want to be doing in this game is giving 1v1s to Mowgli. The dude's an absolute demon. Why would you even grant it to him for free? So for Direwolves, it sounds like such simple advice, but just peel back a little bit. Don't feel like you've got to be meeting them at doorways and windows. Let them in, let the seams start to undo themselves a little bit, the threads start to come loose. That's when you can strike and start picking off members of Wolves. There is no reason to go looking for fights early in the round.
A lot of investment up in the top floor once again. No surprises there from Dire Wolves, basically trying to double down on what they did last time around. But Wolves certainly had the answers in round 2, and that for me is something Dire Wolves need to be aware of as well, is momentum within this game, because as we've said, you know, Wolves are, I can only guess, going to be coming into this with a little bit of a, you know, maybe a confidence issue, you know, like I said, that mentality issue of getting that first win. The more that Dire Wolves let them get established in this game, the more dangerous Wolves become.
100%.
Yeah, so for me, Dire Wolves need to be getting opening kills. Pick on. He's going to take out P4. Perfectly timed to punctuate my point. Thank you very much. They need to be getting up in the faces of Wolves, not allowing them to chain them rounds together.
That isn't one traded back on the other side. Pican, the one being caught actually on the rotate back out from where he found that first kill. So a good response coming out. That first one was what I was talking about, right? Sit a little bit deeper back in the map. Look for the gunfights when they started to work their way through the map and capitalize, because I'm not sure whether P4 was droned in there or not. I didn't quite catch exactly what happened, but he was killed on the long angle down through White Corridor that ultimately saw him fall apart without so much as a whimper back on the other side. 4v4 then with half the round still to play. Wolves do feel like they're getting established, but we still got to see this top floor control come through before we worry about what's next. And also worth stressing, Tim, no kitchen sight coming out for Dire Wolves.
Not as of yet. Rise is going to pick up a nice kill onto Harambe. Finds him lurking around underneath the skylight. Rise has been improving over the last couple of maps that we've seen here at SI. We've certainly seen his performances on the up at least, which may continue. Jackie Wu picks up Shinka 3 versus 3, but Souffle is down in that, so effectively a 2 versus 3, and Wolves with an opportunity to grab themselves another round here. Jackie Wu has to take the drop, can't find a kill though, as Mowgli's ready, picks up the down man, and that'll be a double, leaving us now in a 1 versus 3. It's Ray C, he's got it all to do, finds the first though, Des.
Finds one, can he get the next? wall almost before he tucks himself away. That could have been catastrophic if he'd have got that second kill, but here he faces off a 2 versus 1, a temporary 1 versus 1, as the diffuser is going down, but Wolves have control of the site, and Ray does not. Going to round himself here, maybe come into a 1 versus 2. Sees one, but somehow Bibu hits the reverse. Headshot comes out, they take the round. Wolves up to 2-1.
That was a beautiful pre-fire from Bibu there, just preempting the man coming around the corner, and also just had that crosshair placement down as well, which leaves us with Wolves 2-1 now after the first 3 attacking rounds. I mean, we would expect, you know, they've started on a good side for me on Kafe. I think they are going to find some joy on the attack here. You know, the big question marks for me are probably going to come in the second half for Wolves particularly, and how they can stand up to the defence of Kafe. But for now, Direwolves are going to head down to that bottom floor, Des. It's going to be Kitchen. We'll see if they defend vertically particularly, or whether it's more of a horizontal defence. We've seen sort of an even spread across the 2 tactics really lately. Sometimes it'll be defend bakery and defend VIP. Sometimes it'll be get above, defend reading, defend up to piano, top floor, and burn time that way. But at the minute, it looks like Direwolves largely setting up for a little bit of verticality. They've got somebody out in reading, and then we've got Harambe just moving around. There's no setup in VIP yet, so I would imagine it's going to be more about the upper floors.
I'm kind of surprised they haven't rotated back up to that top floor, right, and gone through the normal rotation of 3 sites. Instead here, opted to play across all 3 primary sites that they might want to head their way into. We've got that Decay on side here for Bibu, an operator that actually has had a really high ban rate throughout the competition so far. Sometimes a target ban towards the Mark 14 users. I've got a couple of those, Onigiri and thinking about Anderton, the 2 names that I'd especially shout out for that. But here, it being on side can just be really oppressive on dealing with roamers. So if you're feeling a little unsure as a team like Wolves, and you do just want to make sure that members of Direwolves are being forced back, fantastic operator to have on side. When you've cleared out land, you lock it down with the Nomad of Mowgli as well. It's just a really nice little lineup of feel that this team has got for this round.
Shinka needs to be cautious there. He's got a man on white stairs. Pican just moves away at the wrong time, maybe right time. Might have saved his life there. I don't think he quite had the angle to take that fight. I would have backed Shinka every day. Now then, Mowgli's going to pick up Harambe. We've also got P4 looking to get into a fight. A double for Mowgli. Really powering Wolves into this one, Des. He's looking at walking directly into sight. He's going to serve himself in the kitchen.
That's the most Wolves that I've seen so far. This collapse coming in where comms for the defenders just go absolutely haywire as they collapse in on them. Not with 5, just with 2 this time. But it's enough to get the control they need. A 4v2. The roamers of Direwolves having to scramble back towards site. It's a great read from Wolves to collapse when they realised the site was left quite light and have made an absolute meal of this round.
I love the timing from Bibu there as well. The Dockerby call comes in. Shinka starts getting the diffuser down. That's the teamwork that we expect to see out of the EU side. Rise having himself a little battle on the red stairs. He's going to come out on top, blasting Souffle away with the skeleton key. Mowgli with a 3rd in the round, and Mowgli is a dangerous player at the moment.
He is on one today, absolutely. It's not all down to him as well. That was a really good round being put together by Wolves overall, but Mowgli sat at 8 and 2 across 4 rounds, averaging 2. If you're getting stats like that on the board, you are going to pick up rounds at some point on the way through. Fortunately for Wolves, it's 3 and 1 here on the attacking half of Kafe. I'd be ecstatic with that, and you can completely understand why Direwolves have said, right, it's time to pause here, guys, need a breather, let's reset, get our heads back in the game.
Just have a listen in and see during the tactical timeout what's coming out of the Direwolves coach.
You know, close white stairs, close below stairs. You know, Souffle needs to also be closer to the stairs. And then if we see, oh, they're not continuing their side push, direct push, they will rotate up, then we also rotate up. Okay, they're a bit much together.
So talking about the movements there as a team or anything, I love the fact that we get to listen to this kind of stuff, by the way.
Nick and Parker obviously started it yesterday, and they noticed
just shutting up and listening.
Yeah, they noticed that you could hear it, and you know, props to those guys. We'll you know, take that on board. It's a fantastic idea. It just gives us that bit of insight into you know, what's going on within the team and what they think the problems are, and you know, obviously rotations, and it sounds like adapting to what's happening in front of them. You know, if we see that they're pushing this, we need to move. We need to adjust, and yeah, we'll see whether that's something that pans out.
Really good little conversation. Thank you very much, production, for getting that microphone set up.
We apologise now. We might not be able to listen quite as well to the Wolves one because it will all be in French.
I mean, we'll do our best. We'll just listen and go, gun, grenade. Oh, I know that one. That's rotation. Oh, get it. Oh, they just said Iana. Oh, I know that operator.
We'll do our best.
We can listen to little bits here and there as we go along. Maybe we'll try and translate as best as we can, but we should really rope Milos in here for a try.
I was going to say, it's really not our area of expertise.
He could say whatever and I'll believe everything he was telling me anyway. Let's go and see how round number 5 goes. We're back up to that top floor then for Bar and Cocktail. Wolves changing over their lineup slightly here towards the back end of things, but they're moving over to Thatcher for that flex pick. Not that I really think they're going to need it here. They have the Hibana on side as well, but I imagine they've seen this Kaid and think, yep, it's time to get an answer to that one coming in. Pecan looking to real double down on the drone denial game that they've played so far as well, with the Solars coming in here, but the 8 drones available to Wolves are all in their back pockets and heading up to the roof.
Going to be just going up with a little bit of caution. Always applied when going anywhere near these hatches. You've got to be careful. We've seen it a couple of times already at SI. I don't think we've seen a kill from it yet, you know, but we do occasionally have the aggressive players stood underneath with the nitros, ready to go. They'll wait for one to be opened, and then that gives them the timing to throw for the second. For the time being, side pretty heavy at the minute with defenders here. We've got Jackie Wu out in Cigar. We've got Racy over by what looks like Washroom and Piano. We've got one in Cocktail, so very much a top floor hold here. Apart from, keep your eyes on Pecan, he's on the Solis and he's underneath.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be down there looking to try and make something happen later into the round, I imagine, or just feeding information upstairs based on what's going on. Of course, got the EMPs now starting to race on through, and Souffle's like, yep, get me out of dodge. I know what follows next. It is frag grenades as 2 of them come falling in by his feet. So he's been forced to step away momentarily, but he's going to step back into position here, I imagine, Tim, as Pecan finds one on a jump out onto P4.
Yep, just has a look. He knows that there's one on the rappel, steps out, and that's an absolute beauty. I did say to keep an eye on him. He's going to continue his roam, and the problem for Wolves now is they do have the Nomads, so they can shut off the stairwells and stop him getting back to site, but that's...
Oh, my word.
That's not what Pecan is playing for. Pecan's playing to use that Solis gadget from underneath, combined with the impact nades, and prevent any plant. Now, Mowgli steps down and gets Jackie Wu, but Pecan causing further problems. They haven't dealt with the roaming Solis.
Trying to push his way forward here and see what he can find. He's managed to charge forward. He really wants to get rid of these 2 players that are sat deep. There's one on Lumber, one in Bathroom, one sat behind him on Cocktail, and he wants to unsettle all 3. But he knows if he goes for one, he'll get shot by the other. It's Souffle to pick up the kill. Shinka's left all by himself here. Not much he can do except pad out those KT stats as Ray finds the final kill. Direwolves making good use of that timeout.
I love that Mowgli's having absolutely none of it there. Just like stood in the middle of the site. I'll take you all on. I'll take every one of you. But he can't. It doesn't work. A couple of good kills there. A bit of aggression coming out from Direwolves, which I think is, as I said, a little bit what was needed. Get in the face of Wolves. Don't let them settle into it. And those 2 jump outs are certainly going to help them in that regard. But what I don't want to see is them maybe get a bit too carried away with it. Wolves are an experienced team, some of the longest standing players in the game, and they're not going to keep falling for that. They're going to end up punishing them. So Direwolves, whilst I'm not saying you can't go near a window, just be cautious is what I am saying. But I love the play from Pecan there, and it was just something that Wolves did not really pick up on or deal with. The Solis was out in the map, gets a jump out. The Solis then able to get a second kill vertically, and he's still at the end of the round roaming in that mid floor. And as I said, you know, when the Solis gadget is activated, they can see the plant going down as an electronic device. They can't use their weapon immediately. They can come out of the device and try to shoot in roughly the right spot, but they can use the impact grenades at the same time. You just throw 2 of them at the ceiling above you, and you're going to kill anybody putting the diffuser down. It's a great play from Direwolves and something that Wolves really needed to deal with.
Absolutely. Well, let's see how it goes then for the final round of the defense. Here they are at a window once again. Tim, you were saying maybe let's not get every window. They've got slightly different ideas. And I reflect, I said the same back in round 3 when they had, you know, lost 3 members before Wolves had even stepped inside the building. I was like, boys, calm down a little bit. But I think at this stage, Wolves are a little bit wiser to it. They've been run out on twice in that last round. They are not taking any nonsense, even slowing down by 10, 15 seconds to make sure it's safe. It's exactly what they're going to employ to make sure they all get to that building alive.
As I said, Shinka there, you know, absolutely well aware to that. He was fighting that fight from an absolute mile away, and the attackers generally have the advantage in terms of, you know, the length of scopes that they can use, the magnifications that they've got. So it's always going to be a very difficult fight.
Oh, the timing!
What a kill for Pecan! Manages to just open up the wall there and slam rise as he drops through the hatch. Gets a second. Where's the comms? Where's the comms, Wolves?
There it is. Mowgli has kind of been the savior in these cases. There's been 2 or 3 rounds now where players on the side of Direwolves have nicked a kill or 2, looked to get away with it, and then Mowgli has been the one there to collect. You know, P4 I think we commented on this before. I think he's the lowest rated player for Europe at the minute. It looks to be getting not all that much better so far in this game. At 3 and 5, it's an improvement, but we've got to see more than that when Mowgli is blowing way ahead at 10 and 3 and really has kept Wolves in more of these rounds than maybe they should still be in.
BB just going to be sending a bit of utility in through there, try to support the push of Mowgli down towards the bottom of White Stairs. It's Harambe that they're looking to clear out from VIP, but he is supported by Jackie Wu as well, who's just going to hold on to those brown stairs for him, so he knows he only needs to focus in one direction. He can just take that one fight, and for the time being, Wolves are looking a little bit rattled. There's a minute 10 left to go. You know, no real access into sight. They're a man down as well. They need to be going in and getting some kills. Now, Mowgli needs to be careful here because Jackie Wu has been watching this angle and he might just get, I was going to say, he might just get pulled into the fight there with the man in VIP, but no, Mowgli, alert to the danger.
The thing is, they've known that there's 2 players here, and as I give it to Direwolves as well, they've responded well. They've moved a Yokai drone over here, Souffle has. They've got 2 players kind of covering each other's backs, but we're not seeing Wolves pushing as a team. They've got, like, Mowgli's come down and danced around a little bit, then peeled away. Then one more has stepped forward and now been picked up as well in the form of Bibu. It's just a little bit fragmented, a little bit scattered, and sure enough, it's far too easy for Direwolves to bring this back up to a 3-3 by the looks of it. Shinka, the last one left standing against 4. I still think really Wolves will be happy on a 3-3 split, being honest with you, given how things have been going, but they know they could have got so much more.
I'd agree with you. I think it's not the end of the world, but I love that you know, the way Direwolves have played, coming back from. This was just too easy. This double for Pican, you know, gets two. It's the second kill onto P4, really. He gets tries as he drops, fair enough. You know, but then to get that second so freely, you know, you picked up on it earlier, Des, with the kill in Dining, with Mowgli going in and Pican taking him down in Dining. The speed of the comms just doesn't seem to be there. You know, he should be aware, I've just been killed by somebody at small bar. Raj drops. There's a hole in the wall next to him. There's nowhere else he could have died from, realistically, and that call's got to be coming through, and they've got to be reacting to it more quickly. But Mowgli at the end of the round as well, a little bit of a concern there. You know, Wolves, for me, just look like they've run out of ideas a little bit. Where whenever a player is heading in, right, so Mowgli knows, he's come down downstairs, he knows Jackie Wu's at bar, he knows that, I think it was Harambe off in VIP.
It is, yeah.
He then also knows that he's got Racy in court check because he goes in and he pre-fires in that direction, loses the fight. But by going in through main entrance still, he knows he's going into a kill box. He's going into an area where there are 3 angles watching that specific area. If you're going to try to push in there and your only plan is, I'm going to have to just go and take these gunfights and try and win them, you know, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, what kind of bothered me about it was it's really standard that you see someone playing inside of VIP as well. And then normally you'd expect to see someone supporting them with bar, with the rotation open up towards the far left of the bar as well. It's nothing flash or, you know, something they wouldn't have come across in scrims before, but they're making it look like it's their first time coming across it. And that's a little bit of my concern. But we digress. Let's see how the defense goes forward. We have now, of course, swapped sides, and they are playing in that exact VIP spot that we were just talking about. We might well see the difference here between how Direwolves approach it versus how Wolves did in that last defensive round.
Well, I'm thinking about teams that historically I've seen very good at clearing this position, and I don't have to look beyond EU to think of BDS. You know, they're very good generally at clearing this position. They'll use a lot of utility from the bottom of White Stairs. P4 goes in and manages to get an opener onto Jackie Wu, so that's a good start, but Harambe one for himself onto Mowgli. But exactly like this, you know, the good teams will come in from the bottom of White Stairs. He's unfortunate he's not got the shield there, but they'll use the nades, they'll use the Gon 6s, they'll use the flashes to clear out this area and force the smoke away, or force the smoke to lose his life in that position. And it's something Wolves haven't done fantastically, and so far it's something Direwolves haven't done fantastically. You know, they have to get better at clearing out that VIP position.
I mean, Pican's just being patient here as well and waiting for someone to set a step wrong, and it's Rise who's got to be really careful of the tiny little box that he's got to play in inside of VIP. But to give it to them as well, Direwolves have not got the nades here to be able to burn through the shield. A little bit of an oversight on their side. Maybe Pican could still do some work with those breaching rounds, but they haven't been deployed. So similarly for Direwolves as to Wolves, we're seeing a bit of a stall out on the east side of the downstairs.
Well, this is the problem with losing Jackie Wu. They've lost the nades with him. So, like you say, it removes their options. So the question now is, how do you adapt? P4 are going to pick up another kill. That's second of the round onto Pican this time. Harambe manages to avoid the explosives from underneath, and they're trying to work the vertical angles instead. So this is the adaptation. But along with this, Direwolves really are probably going to have to push towards Bakery. It's going to be difficult to get in to the freezer side of sight.
trying to open things up here. Harambe from above as well, opening up those sight lines to restrict the defenders on the downstairs somewhat. P4's been a bit of a demon, though, around this restaurant and bar area, similar to where we saw Jackie we were playing before. You can see him in exactly the same spot. But Direwolves equally are struggling to get it broken open. Ryzen looking not to hit one, but gets banged through the sofa by Ray. That's the kind of kill they were looking for. A bit of a bait and switch almost coming out. Both teams into a 3 versus 3. 20 seconds on the clock. It definitely favors Wolves, but don't count Direwolves out yet.
That's the good fortune that Direwolves needed there. Just pushing 2 men towards double window and getting away with the kill onto Rise. They're going to try to push in through double door, but P4 could be on a rotate potentially. He's just holding himself outside of Freezer as they try to move in. Beautiful from P4. There we go. Power position. Gets one. Nearly the second, but Bibu beats into it. And that's going to be a successful first defense for Wolves. Direwolves, again, they just struggle dealing with that VIP position, ultimately getting the kill through double window, but the damage was already done by them.
I mean, I can't help but come back to Pecan. He was sort of on the wrong side of things, right? He's playing the Ash, and he's the one who's sat on the upside down rappel. He's the one who's got the gadgetry in back pocket that can make it way easier for Harambe to challenge on the garage doorway to get that challenge in towards VIP. But that shield was still stood, I'm pretty sure, at the very end of the round. P4 got the kill onto Pecan. There was a kill that came through from Pecan at one point in the round, but it was nowhere near enough to unsettle that side of the map. So both teams really struggling now with what is often felt to be quite, a staple of attacking that site. So Catching's out the way, we go up to the top floor, it's Bar and Cocktail, and Wolves really looking to lock themselves down behind their utility here. You've got the Wamai and the Jaeger, you've got the Mirror on side, you've got the Warden, you've got shields. This is going to feel like a very much bread and butter setup on this top floor, Tim.
We would expect so. We're going to get into it. There's no Solace on side for Wolves. One of the big differences between their approach and Direwolves' approach. We saw the power of Solace playing underneath. Pecan doing a fantastic job with it. But
you notice how they've opened up all the storage, by the way? The whole thing has been left soft and basically opened up wide. You don't normally see that. Like 1 or 2 of the walls will be reinforced. There'll be a mirror window there. Bit different.
It is, it's one of the areas sometimes that the defenders look to either rotate through or to play inside the freezer. But yeah, with the mirror window in place, it's a bit of an older strategy, really. I can't say that I've never seen it before. I just haven't seen it for a while. You'll put the mirror window on there. By opening up that wall, it means you can basically play across the entirety of that top level. Bibu, beautiful kill onto Pecan, and Pecan should really know better there. That's his wheelhouse. That was his operating area. That's where he was getting all his kills, and he's just stood there in no man's land, and Bibu has punished him.
It's interesting because it's like watching a mirror at points. Like both teams are making similar mistakes where if you think back to round 1, Wolves ignored the pulse that was playing inside of Reading. Ultimately didn't actually get the kill, but was still in a spot to get a kill onto Mowgli as he was trying to challenge inside of Fireplace. You've almost seen the exact same happen here where Direwolves weren't aware of Bibu being inside of Reading, and he's the one who's picked up a kill onto White Stairs with 0 response coming out from Direwolves. So both teams in places here a little bit sloppy. I'd like to see it timed up more, getting behind that information game that you've got. You've got a 0 on side, you've got a DKB, you've got a bunch of drones. There's so much you can work with. But either way, it feels like Wolves are the ones starting to pull ahead here as we go down to a 5v3.
Rise manages to take one down. Bibu is being hunted here at this point. It's Harambe that's just out in front of him trying to find the man in Reading. He does find him. There is a bit of a spray down from both sides, but it's Harambe who comes away with the kill and a little bit lower health. Now that leaves us 3 versus 3. A minute and a half wasted. Maybe not as long as Wolves might have hoped for.
No, but it's one of those that teams have been doing this where they've had over the last few days. They'll be in a massive numbers advantage. Think about Lost One, the number of times they're in a 3v2 where things will boil down to turning out to be a round loss off the back of it. You really shouldn't be losing these big man advantage situations, especially not a 5v3. It's come down to a 3v3. The round is not over, but you just get that feeling that it can really boil up to being a loss. 6 flashbangs in back pocket, an EE1D, a phone call to phone home if they need a little bit of help. Still so much to play for here for Direwolves.
They just need to make sure that they're playing with enough time. Harambe is going to work his way up to the top of White Stairs now then. Are Wolves aware of this? This is the question. If he's able to sort of sneak into Lumber without too much contest, that's going to be a bit of a problem. He's got numbers with him as well, but Shinka manages to find one. That's going to be Ray taken down. Souffle is in position to pick that diffuser up, but time is ticking by. 25 seconds left to go. Shinka just holding tight angles now. Wolves are not going to push this. They're just going to wait for those pixels to appear, and Shinka shuts down Harambe. P4 with the final, and Wolves with their second successful defense.
Up to 5 and 3. Got to be building in a little bit of confidence at this point as well. I know he said at some point that it felt like it was going to be another disastrous day if things carried on as they have done previously, and sure, it hasn't been the cleanest, but there is some improvement here, especially in the Mowgli department.
I think it's going to be a good win overall for Wolves if they can get this first map done. Kafe is not a map that we see them play sort of too regularly. You know, so to come away, make that your pick, get the win there. There's just, you know, there's a lot of momentum potentially that can snowball from that. We're going to, for their third defensive round, see them now in Reading and Fireplace. So similar setup to last time around, I would expect. There's going to be a top floor presence there that Dire Wolves are going to need to deal with. Dire Wolves didn't feel, they got themselves into a 3v3, but then sort of got to the top of White Stairs and were kind of like, what now? Where do we go now? You know, they realised that they'd sort of walked into a funnel, really. They didn't have any sort of pressure coming from anywhere else. That's what I'd like to see switched up from Dire Wolves here, is maybe just, you know, poke from a couple of different sides. If they can get themselves in and around top White, get themselves maybe underneath Skylight, New Hatch, clear the top floor from two directions, and then start working towards side.
All right, that Solace is back on side, so ignored out the previous round, but this time reintroduced. We've seen both teams employing it throughout the rounds as well, and seen an awful lot over the last few days where it hasn't been banned away, drawn as many bans, I think, as it has picks at this point. But one of those where, as we've seen so many times, it's just so valuable at taking out drones in the early round, restricting the information game that the attackers can play, kind of dealing them a little bit of their own medicine here. Now, Ray's got the shotgun, interestingly, being picked out, silenced as well on the Amaru, working his way in through the downstairs here. Just really hope he doesn't get blindsided once again by a player that he doesn't expect.
Harambe going to be setting himself up to get onto the east window rappel, I would imagine. The air jabs are out. Got to be careful with the location of those because they do not detonate until somebody's feet hit the ground. Always worth remembering for yourself in your ranked games when you play. Make sure you put them close to the ground, not next to the windows that
smokes,
are
cracks, everything.
We're going to have an Amaru potentially zip up. They go. Smokes come in. Ray is going to be getting that plant down. Can he stick it? C4 out. Plant stopped, and that is going to be the end of that attempt. But here comes Jackie Wu, a double kill with the shotgun, but we find ourselves now 3 versus 3, 1 minute 45.
Shotgun's on Amaru, shotgun on the sledge as well. They're just racking it all up at this point, but they've made it work as well. The close range push coming up White Stairs turned out to be the play, and they found what they needed. 3 versus 3, plant attempt denied away though, all things reset.
P4 is just going to be feeding that information in. You can see the diffuser down on the ground, so they know 100% that it's inside of Fireplace right now. And just going to play the hatch. That's not actually a terrible position to play. He's likely going to be able to deny anybody from picking that case up. They're going to have to be very cautious about going in there now. So that's something Dire Wolves need to, you know, they benefited from it themselves. The soul is being ignored. They need to make sure that they don't do the ignoring.
Souffle's often found himself as the last man left alive in these rounds as well. I know he's set at 1-7, but has been on the back end of a few 1vX's, to be honest. Feels like with this one starting to boil down to its end, though. In this last 60 seconds stepping in, they're a little bit short on options, and I love how we're getting a bit cheeky from P4 playing on the downstairs, waiting for a recovery attempt to come in, try and pick up that diffuser. They're dead to rights. There's no way you can get it without being taken out by him.
This is well played from Wolves. It's, you know, unfortunate for Dire Wolves. It was a nice attempt. I always like to see something a bit different, a little, you know, Amaru zip up the hatch there. You can see the leftovers, the track stingers, the smoke, everything was there, but Wolves were ready and had the answer, and they have benefited massively from it because Dire Wolves don't really have a plan B here. Mowgli, he's just going to keep himself tight in here, wait for the drop. It's as easy as that. Takes down Harambe. Loses now 3 versus 2, 20 seconds left to go. Souffle, he manages to take down Rise. Can he find anything else in the final 14? Jackie Wu finds himself inside a sight, but there's not really too much he can do at the moment. No, P4 misses his opportunity, but he's going to relocate and just show us the power of the gadget. Hello, there you go. Not a problem.
Oh my God, it's horrible. That's horrible.
That's the power of Solus.
That's especially horrible though, because it felt for a second like Wolves had really lost that one and Dire Wolves had battled their way back in. But no, that Solus ignored on the downstairs. It's not often you'll see a player looking to lurk below the diffuser, but they've managed to make it work. Great attempt coming out of Dire Wolves as well. Feels a little bit textbook for this site. You know, nothing wrong with that, but just the timing to be there with the C4, that was the real stinger, sadly.
I just love the example that we got of, Solis's denial capabilities. Obviously,
what I would have loved would have been to see the player that was there second is to go straight down that hatch.
I think that's the answer at that point, yeah.
Or you both drop down and go for
Hail Mary, I think you've got to try and get the, given that the Solis P4 wasn't the last person alive, realistically, I think you've got to think about getting that diffuser down. But yeah, 100%, I'm with you. Don't necessarily worry about the cover at that point. The cover is stopping the Solis from denying the plant. It's getting down there and doing that. But, a great example that we got to see there as well. Fantastic observing of it, as always, of how that Solis gadget works, how it can be so powerful on the denial of the diffuser going down as well. It's not just about drones, it's not just about gadgets, it is about stopping that plant going down.
Who do you think our observer is, by the way?
I think this game is easy.
I reckon it's Sayano. Who's right? Tell me.
And I'm going to tell you in a second why that's a compliment.
Okay. It's easy. There we go. God damn it. You know your boy too well.
I do know my boy too well. But what I would say, and the reason it's a compliment, is because all our observers are so fantastic. It's difficult to tell them apart, and that makes our job very, very easy. They all have their own little twists and styles, but...
Yeah, see, the giveaway for me that I was looking for, that I spotted in a couple of rounds, was Sayano really likes far zooming out when scoping across the map. I know Easy's done it historically, but I haven't seen it for a while, so I thought maybe that's a Sayano thing. I do try and pay attention, boys, I promise.
They all have their own little bits.
It's been great. No, I don't think we've really missed anything this game.
No, this is it. They all do such a fantastic job, it makes it difficult to tell between. Now then, Pican, he's going to be moving through Pixel. He's got a drone just ahead of him, quite aggressive. We judge that based on the distance that the drone is ahead. The closer that the player is to the drone, the quicker they can react to the information. It's risk and reward. There we go. Mowgli, he managed to get the kill onto Pican, and what I would say there is maybe that drone was a little bit too far ahead of Pican. Mowgli saw the drone, took it out, and knew the push was likely behind it. He was prepared, ready, but he wasn't ready for Harambe on the upside down rappel. Just wipes him out on white stairs.
It was such a cute little movement from Harambe as well, just slightly across to the right as well to be out of position, because what he saw the quick peek come out of Mowgli. He knew what was coming, a pre-fire coming in at where his head was. He moves it and gets the fire back as well. Mowgli not able to respond in time. Really well played by Harambe.
Just got the Rotero drone going in, not finding any utility there, so just taking the opportunity to open up some verticality, make sure nobody was playing inside as well. That was another point. They don't have, they do have the book of Harambe, of course, once he gets in, but for now, Jackie Wu's going to be working on that clearance, making sure that the red stairs is clear, that there's not going to be any flank attempts. The Nitro will be unsuccessful. So as we stand at the minute, Wolves are pretty much holed up in and around site. They're all looking to play down there. The furthest we've got is Rise out in VIP. We've got the supporter P4 on bar, but otherwise it is all site-based.
But again, though, they're without any nades. They've got no nades on side. The Ash they had is dead, and that was the main thing last round, was saying, hey, Pecan, you could be in a better spot here to get rid of the shield. So that shield is going to stay standing inside of VIP. I know it's kind of focusing on just a shield, and it's not the bread and butter this round. It isn't what makes or breaks it, but what they've done is chosen to move sides and coming through Kitchen instead. Really smart idea. They march in and get 2 kills, and Direwolves may well have just found their way into the lair of the Wolves.
This is what I was critical of not happening previously, of teams trying to still push into positions with 2 or 3 guns focused on them, but no, the adaptation and the switch has been fantastic from Direwolves. Ray finishes us off with a final kill, and that is a first successful attack for Direwolves. And yeah, absolutely there. I spoke about it when Mowgli did it, pushed into that kill box with 3 players surrounding him. I said that Direwolves had done the same thing when they had to go in through double window last time they attacked Kitchen. It's very much they've been playing into the defense, into the struggle that they've found. That time, you know what? We're struggling with this verticality a little bit. We're struggling with dealing with white stairs. Let's go Bakery. So they head out to Bakery, and bada bing, they get themselves the round.
Absolutely. It's good because, again, as you say, it shows the adaptation in the mid-round. That's the big one for me that was the evolution point for them there. Yeah, rather than sticking at it and trying to make something work when you haven't got the utility to tackle the situation, just find a new situation to fight. Here we go. Up to the top 4 then. Bar and Cocktail. It is still match point for Wolves. 2 more from Direwolves to send us into overtime, Tim. Wouldn't that be a surprise?
Imagine.
Imagine. C4 on side as well in the back pocket, and Mowgli interestingly going across to the Kapkan here. I've really enjoyed seeing more Kapkan play this year. I think for a while we didn't really see him in pro play all that much, but with the introduction of the double stack, knowing that you can instantly kill someone with it now, or at least put them down, such a valuable operator. As soon as the attackers realise there is one Kapkan trap on the map, well, get on your drones and find the remaining 4. Otherwise, you are walking into them face first in the last 30 seconds of the round. The least ideal time to be doing so. Speaking of which, Mowgli, there's 2 of them still in back pocket here, trying to find something, but it's simply not going to be rewarded with that. P4 looking out towards spawn as well. Do Direwolves get the read in this one? They have got a Monty, so if they want to, can safely peek around this corner.
Jackie Wu just being very, very conscious of the potential for peaks. Like to see it from Direwolves. You know, they're certainly not taking anything for granted. Interesting, like you said, to see just exactly what happens with that Monty push in. Pekan's going to take down Shinka. There's a combination of names to say is that one.
Think of like Pikachu, like Desert Shoe.
Yeah, hopefully.
And then just add the N on the end.
Oh, it was more the fact that I was leading on to Shinka, so I ended up combining both. Hopefully they'll just stay apart from now on. 5 versus 4. Direwolves do have the advantage. They're going to look to send the Monty in very soon as well. The hatches have been opened. I think really the plan is get Monty into the top of red and just, you know, push into sight from there and work in behind him.
Very much so. I don't blame them either as well. Having him as the spearhead, as the kind of leader for the team, you know, come in behind me, follow me in, is always a fine strategy if you feel you're losing in other areas. Mowgli taken down low by Nate, but not finished off. If they see him here on a drone, the problem is another one will probably follow through. He's going to try and get himself out of dodge here, gets himself back down into the corner under the safe cover of these ADSs when they do come back online.
Just needs to hold on there for as long as possible, really. It's going to prevent Direwolves from coming in on that red-sided push, and it's just burning more and more time. We're halfway through the round. Mowgli has managed to just get himself back into washroom. He's, as I say, going to play his life there, I would imagine. He's not going to drop back too soon. They've got 4. They've got a minute to burn. It's not the end of the...
Nearly killing the Monty as well. Ray down to about half HP. Was looking out towards Cigar Shop door. Not quite finished off, though, but still, that's a lot of chip damage. No C4s to throw out to try and bring him down, mind you. So this could be really difficult for Wolves, especially given there are 60 seconds left in the round.
The march of the Monty continues over towards Lumber. Bibu's been pushed back onto White Stairs, but he's unlikely to give up any more ground. Doesn't have a choice, gets pushed away, and Pekan is the one to pick up the kill. Mowgli's inside low health. P4's on a big flank here, though. This could be super important. He sees the man, but can't quite find the shots. It's 3 versus 4, and he's going to be cut down by Jackie Wu. 35 seconds left to go. Rise and Mowgli just holding on.
I think this Monty is a real problem for them here as well. He spearheaded that charge down White. They're spotting out individual players and then crushing them. P4, I don't blame him at all. Tried to really catch them on the flip side there. Surprise them a little bit, get a couple of kills, but just could not finish off onto the second man. With him going down to 4v2, it feels like it's all but done. Unless they can work some magic, it's all down to Rise as he's penned in and Souffle butts up to finish things off. Direwolves bring us up to round 12 here and could well force us into overtime.
It was well played from Direwolves there. They used the Monty fantastically. You know, sometimes I think we see Monties just get a little bit sort of over-engaged and they try to take them gunfights themselves, but no, they just kept themselves locked down and did a fantastic job.
So no need to change. I think they will try to play more aggressive because they're struggling on after we get that map control. That's where they failed. So I think they will fight harder for the early round. So you have to watch out for that, okay? Rest is really working good. Well fragging now. You see me.
No, we're not going to understand this.
This bit we won't.
I don't know anywhere near enough. I'm sorry if you're a French listener, but I haven't got a clue.
This is, of course, the Wolves tactical timeout. We can hear Direwolves there. Pretty happy with what's going on.
Well, I think their answer was spot on as well.
Level of aggression, just keep going. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, no, because what he was saying was essentially is when we get good map control, Wolves get desperate. That's when they start baring their fangs and looking to get a little bit nasty back on the other side. So if you know you can kind of just slowly tiptoe your way forward into their lair and you know they're going to jump out, that's when you catch them on the crossfire, because they caught out 2 members doing just that in the last round. Bibu on White Stairs and P4 on the charge through Cigar Shop. So it's really good to say, let's sit back, just let them try and work their magic a little bit. Let's see how far they can get. You know, we haven't got to go in hyper-aggressive looking for kills. Wolves will come to us when we set a single foot too far, in their opinion, and it's a really good idea.
Wolves have got one last opportunity to avoid overtime. They need to get this round one. They're going to take us to Reading and Fireplace. Have the words of Liloon been enough to turn their fortunes around over the last couple? We've got Direwolves now winning 2 in a row, and that last one coming in behind the Monty was a beautiful play. It was just well worked. As I said, they kept the patience fantastically. Sometimes it's easy for a Monty to overextend or sort of over-engage, but there was none of that, and they just played it perfectly, fed the information in, and just bullied Wolves, like you say, out of position.
We always have like our little WhatsApp group that we look to see what's going on across teams when we're casting, for example. On the other stream, there was a Gara hook kill, and did you know the comment they made when that kill came in?
Dare I ask?
A real Tim Lever way to die in Siege.
Who made that comment? The casters or the players?
Yeah, M did on the cast. Mine was flashed and tried to relocate, got himself next to a window, look at Gara and have a kick in the head and died.
Yeah, that's
a real Tim Lever way to die.
I've probably died that way about 50 times.
Hold on, look, I need to go and watch that.
I'm the one who dies when somebody goes to shoot out a barricade. Yeah. You know, when they just spray a few bullets through the barricade. Yeah. I'm just running from one room to another.
Weren't you playing with Fabian at one point and like he was holding out on board and they just ran into sight and killed you and ignored him?
Yeah, 100%. yeah, that's happened.
I just love it. You are like the rabbit's foot. You're the unlucky part of the Siege stack.
It infuriates me.
You can hold the bad luck for us.
I do it for everybody else. I facilitate everybody else.
That's the kind of team player that everyone needs. In comes an E1D as Direwolves start their entryway into the building. Really gone on the hunt this round as well, with the Lion and the Decabi coming out alongside the Zero for that information game being provided back and forth. On the other side though, for Wolves, they have got positions held up. They are looking to challenge Direwolves relatively early in the round, but pull back to what the coach said not too long ago about just saying let them come and snap onto you, because as soon as you get too close, they will go for that aggression and we can punish them there.
Jackie Wu sending the drones in from Skylight, just pinging out the reinforcements that are ahead of them. How deep them reinforcements are will often sort of dictate and give an idea to the attackers of how deep the defenders are playing. So the fact that the storage to lumber corridor walls are reinforced tells you they're going to be playing deep in Cocktail. If they were reinforced out from storage to Piano, it tells you they play maybe a little bit further up. But the attackers of Direwolves can be confident in moving in towards Piano without taking too much of a challenge.
Sniffed him out.
Is going to find Rise there, leaving us 5 versus 4.
It's not the only one though, because there's still a couple of members of Wolves up here trying to cause trouble. Shinka, the main one, halfway up White Stairs, has got one below and one above. Gets swung onto, but wins that firefight against Pecan, down to half HP, and now looks to disappear into the map. 3v3, at least for a moment.
Not for many moments as Jackie Wu manages to find Mowgli. We are going to have Ray down at this point in time. Harambe with an opportunity, but missed. P4 able to find that kill, and that leaves us effectively, I was going to say in a 2v2, but no, Ray has been collected. 2v3 it is. P4, be careful. There is a man on White Stairs. He's going to watch the hatch for the time being.
They're a bullet from death, though, every single member of Direwolves, so it's looking really ropey right now. They've got to be finding these first shots onto the members of Wolves, otherwise it feels like this could be done.
20 seconds left to go, and this is where it gets dicey for Direwolves, because they've got to start taking those risks. There's, as you say, they need to be confident, they need to be sure of what's going on, of what they're doing. They're not going to have an opportunity at this rate to get the diffuser down. P4 keeping himself out of dodge. Big kill there, big moment as Shinka gets Ray. 2 seconds left to go, just needs to keep himself alive, but no! Suplex somehow manages to find that kill. You can see the frustration amongst Wolves as a team, with Rise just hitting the desk there. It was so close for them, down to a fraction of a second, but they just couldn't keep themselves alive.
How the bloody Nora has he won that one at that range as well? You're swinging out onto a man with a shotgun. He should be winning that every day of the week. What a shot, what a play. Beautiful stuff coming out. Direwolves, they hang on and they send us into overtime. I love this game.
It just doesn't get any better,
That was a fantastic second half of Siege. I've really enjoyed that.
It just really doesn't get any better. And this is why I love the Invitational. You know, you come in here and, you know, we could easily, and we did at the beginning of the game, it would have been remiss of us not to say, you know, these are two of the teams that have been struggling overall out of the
haven't won a single map tip.
But it doesn't matter. All 20 of our teams are so good. The level is so high that we come in here, and even with a matchup like this where you would look and think you've got two teams without a win, they could definitely be well and truly on the struggle bus. But no, they come in and give us an unbelievably entertaining first map. And then a little bit more, we get 3 more rounds.
Whew. Okay, and it's Wolves starting on the defensive side, but I don't know. It's almost impossible to call which way it goes, given the result we've had so far across this game. Direwolves getting themselves back behind that Monty. It worked out so well last time, almost as a way of baiting out aggression from the side of Wolves. They knew a Monty was there. They had a pinch set up onto, well, not onto the Monty, but the Monty and the rest of Direwolves had a pinch set up onto that player they knew was there. All they've got to do is play behind the information game here, remove a couple of crucial bits of utility, and they're on the march forward already.
Going to take out that bulletproof camp. That was just good practice, getting the utility out of the way. Utility clearance, I think overall is something I'd say that has been a little bit of a struggle for these teams. Yeah, we're still going to have Rise in position behind that shield. He's been a constant thorn in the side of the attackers trying to push in here. But interestingly, Direwolves doubling down on that Monty that's worked previously. It's currently bullying Bakery a little bit. Souffle manages to find one. That's going to open things up with a kill onto Mowgli, not the player at 13 and 10 that Wolves wanted to be losing first. And Pecan doubles down, Des. It could be happening. Direwolves get themselves the advantage.
They're just annoying and aggravating Wolves, and it's forcing them to bite and lash out a little bit here. Almost like the discipline has been lost in the Wolves camp, and they're really paying the price on trying to take these 1v1 gunfights. Worth noting on Mowgli, I don't think he's had a kill now for about 5 or 6 rounds. It's been a really quiet second half of the game for him, and something clearly that Wolves are sorely missing.
Again, I'm going to give the same compliment to Jackie Wu here on the Montagne. Not overextending, not overcommitting, not over-engaging, but what he is doing is occupying 2 out of 3 players that are left for Wolves because they can't leave him alone. One has now dipped away, but the other is going to have to stay in Bakery. Bibu has no choice but to keep watching, and Jackie Wu is just given no opportunity to be taken down. It's brilliant.
I like how they're keeping it really unclear which side they're pushing in from as well. Wolves know that there's a member on either side of the map, but the other 3, they've got no real idea. They've spent a lot of it on the upstairs. Jackie Wu's been drawing a lot of attention inside our Bakery here. Is pinging out this one man who they know is going to go for a fight, but he wins the 1v1. Bibu brings down Ray. There isn't one more in the window, but the Monty comes out with a pistol, gets the down as well after a second kill. Went the way of Wolves. It's a 2v2, a 2v1. Can Harambe hold on against these 2? One on the vertical, one on the lower, and no more shield in the round.
What a huge moment from Rise there. A double kill just to flip things on its head, and all of a sudden Wolves out of nowhere have the man advantage. They're just going to try and hold on to site now. Harambe goes in. He's just looking. He's got to find these kills. He sprays down the wall, won't have any joy. The Wolves player is led prone behind the metal unit, and there's the final kill. Shinka rescues Wolves there. Rise is pumped. Absolutely no surprise. That looked for all my money like a Direwolves round. Jackie Wu played that Monty on Bakery beautifully, but Bibu was not rattled by it. Well done, Wolves.
I love how in the space of like 4 minutes we've gone from Rise smashing the table to cheering like he's just won the World Cup.
I love it. I love it.
So much passion coming out. Absolutely love to see it. That means Direwolves are on the back foot. Win here on the defense. Otherwise, your time on Kafe is over, and you will not be walking away with that 1 point in this best of 3. Reminder, of course, if you are only just tuning in today, first, where the hell have you been? But second, if you win 2-0, you get 4 points. You win 2-1, you get 3 points. You lose 2-1, you get 1 point. You lose 2-0, you get nothing. And that's why both of these teams, who across their 3 series between them have both gone 0 and 2, both sat on the bottom of the table in their group on 0 points. That's why this game really, really matters, as it is going to inform the next couple of days. I even believe that Wolves don't play tomorrow. They've already had 2, so they have to have their rest day still. Direwolves had theirs, I want to say it was yesterday, may have been Tuesday.
Fascinating site choice coming in from Direwolves. If we have a look at their defensive half, there was a site that Direwolves were 100% on. They defended it twice and they won it twice. It was not Kitchen. They defended Kitchen twice and they only won it once, so they were 50-50 down here. They were 100% successful up on the top floor of Bar and Cocktail. So choosing to go to a site that they have lost when there is one available, which they haven't, is could be an interesting move.
Yep, absolutely. Making good use of the yokai drones here as well. I speak about this every time we see it, but it's very DPEC-esque from Koi, the kind of player that would throw it outside the map for 5 seconds, check out what's going on, and then pull the yokai back inside. Here it's now going to stay inside the building, as they've done at their initial scouting. I'm still looking again at the lineup from Wolves 2 and looking at that. Kafe has been such a present pick for both teams throughout this map, understandably, helping suppress the roamers, force them back in towards sight. Expect to see more of the same this round.
Pecan's ready here. I think he knows that somebody's just come over on the rappel. Maybe missed his opportunity there, though, as bullets rain in and clear out. Drone comes in. Yep, that's going to force Pecan away. No option but to drop back down to the bottom of White Stairs. Mowgli's just heading in behind a nade, and Wolves, it feels like they've got a sniff of a win here, Des. They know that it's on the cards, and they're getting aggressive.
Just to give a shout out to Ray as well, currently sat at a 92% cost, has really made his impact felt in the vast majority of these rounds. I know his numbers aren't exactly shining next to someone like Pecan or even Mowgli, but it's having an impact throughout these rounds. Whether or not his impact is felt in the most important one, this one, remains to be seen.
We've got about half of the round left to go. P4 established on that mid-floor. Wolves pretty much happily in control of the majority of the map now. Dire Wolves have been forced all back downstairs, I think. We've got 4 there. We've got a 5th. Where's our 5th? We will see. I'm sure that I think they might be out in Bakery just off to the left of our screen. I'm not sure that
hiding, Tim. It's hide and seek versus the casters, not even each other anymore.
No, exactly.
A game within a game.
Yes, I was right. It's Souffle. Souffle is off on Echo out in Bakery behind the bookcase, so he was just off our screen. But it means that Wolves have got a whole minute now. Nitro goes off unsuccessfully, not going to take any damage or a kill. The book is just going wild on the floor at the minute, using the verticals. All that Wolves need really to be the spark is a couple of kills, and there's one. That's a fantastic start from Rise.
That's exactly what you want as well. Ray, who I spoke about, commended him for being so impactful this round, not really to have any impact on the outcome. This is the problem with that vertical control, and why you'll often contest that third and second floor is to stop the attacking team getting that level of control and really exposing you on the site and forcing you into some really uncomfortable positions. Bibu looking at long range to try and find a fight inside of VIP, but can't quite find his man. Rise on a tear. You said he was pumped up, Tim. He's pumped to high hell because he's got 2 in this round and looking for a 3rd.
Mowgli's going to come down.
There it is.
Dangerous position. Rise on 3. Mowgli walks in. It's as easy as that. Rise will be down, but it's unlikely to matter as Shinka starts putting that diffuser down. Needs to keep the clock running and give his teammates the chance to get this final kill. Pecan is fighting wildly, but it's just not enough, Des. And the bite comes in from Wolves. They get the final kill, and they take map 1 in overtime.
That's going to be worth far more to them than you can ever imagine as well. Remembering, this is the first map they have won since the middle of November. They have not won in the last 8 maps they have played, and interestingly, Tim, that last map they won was against Dire Wolves back in Jönköping. They've come back to face the same opponent. They've got to win against them. This could be the end of that horrible losing spree that they've been on. Again, a first win in 8 official matches. Massive for the team in terms of morale.
You can see immediately there, you know, a little bit of a celebration, but Wolves straight back into the conversations about what can be improved and how they can avoid that overtime, I think.
Well, it's not done. There's still a lot of work for them to do. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, Skyscraper awaits.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a 2-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position. That is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Six Invitational B-Stream with me, Des, and this guy, Tim. Tim, you can do the rest of the intro.
Oh, I were in practice for this bit. No, we've seen one map so far between Wolves and Direwolves. Wolves coming out with a hard-fought victory all the way to overtime. Direwolves taking them close. Wolves could be on the way to their first LAN win, Des.
Are they going all the way to a LAN win, Tim?
Not yet, they're not. Let's not get carried away. Kafe was their map choice. They had a good, a couple of good performances in there. I like as a team that there's not a huge spread of kills.
Look at the cost range as well. Basically, every player is in that 50 to kind of 64 range, except for Ray, who did come in the last round. He was on 92% until he was the entry death in that round. But the big one for me was really Mowgli. First half, I think he was like 12 and 6 or something like that. Yep. He didn't really get involved in the second half, but his team did manage to pull themselves through and get it over the finish line. A real team win and a team game, given the spread of kills, like you say, Tim.
Yeah, 100%. It sort of makes sense for Mowgli. He's the sort of player that is going to thrive on the chaos of going in and getting a few kills on attack. On defense, it's a bit more structured. Maybe can be targeted a little bit more and gets dealt with. But overall, very, very good performance.
Good little split screen.
I think, yeah, it is. I think the only thing I want to say is Wolves at the end of that map, they celebrated, and then they were straight into what looked like pretty intense conversation. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looked pretty intense. And I just want them to manage that energy level a bit, because obviously there is a mentality aspect for them, given, previous results on best of 3 on LAN. Don't try and sort of grasp at it too hard. Just let it come. Let it, you've won well. You've won a good game there. Just let it come.
I think, again, we said it at the end of that last map, and for those who are tuning in, maybe you're taking a break from the A stream and coming to see what's going down. This was a really big win for Wolves, and I know it feels like, well, you're literally celebrating the first map in a best of 3, like you haven't won the whole thing yet. For them, it was that mental aspect where they've really felt somewhat cursed on LAN, to be honest, as well. They do so well normally in online play, but as soon as it comes round to LAN, they really struggle. They've lost the last 8 maps. They haven't won a map since the middle of November. That's how hard it's been. You can win scrims all you like, but nothing beats that win on an official game on LAN. They finally got to that point, but now they've got to do it on the map they hate the most in this game, it feels. Skyscraper, that second one coming out. It is Direwolves map pick, so you expect them to come out swinging.
Certainly would. It's one of the few maps that we haven't seen so far, Des. We are down to Skyscraper, Oregon, and Chalet remaining for you and I to cast. Chalet, unfortunately, because
cast them all.
Chalet, unfortunately, because it's one of our favourite maps to cast.
Tim, will you buy me a coffee if we cast every single map?
I'll buy you a coffee anyway, Des. Skyscraper is going to be ticked off that list now. Oregon could be if Direwolves win this one. Oregon is our decider. So if we do go to 3 maps, we're going to have the bans coming in. Now then, Des. Wolves have banned Monty.
Yeah.
Not too much of a surprise. Not too much of a surprise. Oh, Jackie Wu played fantastically on the couple of rounds that we saw him using Monty last time around. As I said, a very good understanding of not overextending, not over-engaging. I really like what he did with the operator. Skyscraper, we know that Monty is a bit of a force when sent into the top of, like Black Stairs, for example.
Anyway,
he is, but quite often for, Karaoke T defense, for example, you get a Monty pushed into the top of Black Stairs and just in through your rotation, get the diffuser down in meeting. It can be a nightmare to try and stop it. So I think the combination of those two things, the fact that Direwolves have just shown a real understanding and good use of the operator, along with the map that we're on, really sort of pushes Wolves' hands.
This is the typical Des chaos moment, so I apologise. But yesterday I suggested to Super, I went into his channel and said hello, and said at some point me, you and him should do a TriCast.
Okay.
Because you're like super positive.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say a bad word about anyone.
I do occasionally.
Super says it how it is. He'll call a spade a spade. He'll tell a team they're really crap if they're really crap. And I'm just going to be the guy that stands in the middle and like pokes both sides to just like get extra positive or extra mean. It would be hilarious.
I'm sure it would be entertaining.
I'll try and drag him along to a LAN at some point.
I'm certain.
Come on, Super. Come have some fun.
We're going to head into round number 1 then. It's going to be Direwolves versus Wolves. Wolves have already taken a map. If you're a brand new viewer maybe, who knows, look up at the top of your screen if you're saying to me, Ace, how do I know that Wolves are currently leading 1 map to 0?
Ace, how do I know who's currently leading 1 map to to 0.
Well, up at the top of your screen, there's a Chew. If you have a look, there's Wolves Esports and there's Dire Wolves right up at the top in the centre, and there's 2 grey bars next to them, except for Wolves. There's 1 grey bar and 1 lit up orange, and that's to signify the map that they've already.
You know what really does my nuts in about different LAN events? Is every aspect. This is not at all a slight against the producers for this event, by the way, but everyone does graphics differently. They have some different way of indicating who's won the first map in a best of 3. Sometimes it's like diagonal bars at the end of the white bit, sometimes it's dots, sometimes it's lines, and people still come in and they're just like, so which team's actually won first map then? It tickles me so much.
Well, this is why I thought I'd explain it, because
Tim, you're so helpful,
we've got a wonderful overlay there.
I'm glad I finally understand that on day 3 of the competition.
We've got a wonderful overlay there, and I'd like people to be able to enjoy it and fully utilise it. We're going to have Mowgli fully utilising his rifle. He's going to pick up an opener onto Pecan, who's going to actually get that direct trade. It's going to be a headshot in return. That leaves us 4 versus 4. It's the Ash that's gone, not the end of the world. The Frost that's gone, not the end of the world. Why is it not the end of the world, you might ask? We've gone into a full...
Ace, why is it not the end of the world?
We've gone into a full education round. Because Frost is an operator who has what we call sort of place and forget gadgets. Those mats go down on the floor at the beginning of the round and they're done. That's what you're contributing to the round in terms of your special gadget as an operator. So for the remainder of it, you're a gun. You're there to stand in a location, prevent a push, and try and get some kills. So the fact that Frost is the first off the board isn't the end of the world. By contrast, somebody like Rise, as Wamai, his gadget is available over time. So, you know, at set intervals, he has another magnet available which will catch throwable utility. So if he dies at the beginning of the round, you've lost a bunch of magnets that can't then be placed through the remainder of the round. So
got another question.
You ask away, Des.
Tim, when the glass is ADS, why does he have the yellow bars at the side of his ADS retinue?
Well, let me tell you, he's got the yellow bars there because he's actually working on a heat-seeking scope, so he can see through smoke and things like that. Players will light up bright yellow. But to prevent him just walking in and seeing everybody all the time, movement prevents that from happening. So when those yellow bars are full, it's sort of charged and his scope will work. As he moves, the yellow bars will disappear and become grey. As you can see, they're greyed out there because he's been moving, and as they fill up, then his scope will work.
Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome, Des.
Tim, why is he down and dying?
I'm not doing this, Des, in the final 40 seconds.
Well, Ray has been put on his backside for a moment, taking a rest, whilst we take a break from that explaining and focus on the end of the round. Souffle in a great spot, takes down 1 and a Frost map with him at the same time. He's looking for his second target on the main stairs, but cannot find him. Just dipping away here, Wolves keeping themselves alive. It is a temporary 3 versus 3. Now a 4v3 as Ray is back on his feet.
There's nobody actually on site at the minute for Wolves, apart from Shinka. He's got himself back into goal bars, but the other 2 are down below, I believe. 1 is down below, 1's on main stairs. Shinka with an important kill then from inside of sight. But I don't feel like Dire Wolves have got time to deal with these flanks, and that's why I bring it up, because it's going to be an issue. They can get themselves inside of sight, but there you go. They can't deal with the black stairs, and that is a problem. We're going to see the Soulless attempt again. There it comes, and it is as easy as that. Nice double for P4 at the end with the Nitro. Combined the teamwork, had the Soulless underneath, and that was my concern for Dire Wolves coming in there.
I like Shouty Rise.
Très bien. I know that. Very good. There we go. You see, I told you we could do little bits of...
C'est bon.
It's good.
It's good.
There we go. We're going to head into round 2 pretty soon.
Everything is fine. C'est bon.
There you go. So heading into round 2, as I say, I was pretty impressed with that Wolves defence overall. Shinka just sat in back goal bars. They had the player presence with the Bandit on black stairs. Needed to maybe just be a little bit cautious because that's the Nitro that they were hoping to use from P4. You know, if he sort of prodded a little bit too hard and got himself killed, it could have been an issue. But the Soulless should have still been, you know, more than capable of dealing with that situation anyway. From underneath, just shooting through the floor, as we saw previously, they'd have been able to stop the denial anyway. Sorry, the diffuser going down. So, well played from Wolves, I like it.
Hopefully they can keep things rolling forwards. It was still close from Dire Wolves, I'll give that to them. Sure, the Soulless was the big decision maker at the end of that round as to whether or not they were successful or not. But with it being their map, as we've said a couple of times, you would expect them to have some success here on the attacking side and then convert that in the second. It sure looked like that on the last map back on Kafe. When we were 3-3 at the split, Wolves moved on to the defender side, and then we saw a very different side to that game as they started to pull their way forward to a 6-3 scoreline, only for Dire Wolves to battle their way back in. So who knows how close this map will end up.
Pecan straight away onto the rappel. Just going to have a little look at the bottom of Black Stairs, maybe try and catch out anybody on the roam, on the rotate, but he's not going to have much joy, I can tell you, over that side of the map. About the closest in position is one of the players that's currently in restaurant, I think, for Wolves. Mowgli is going to be moving himself across and into Geisha. Now, he is going to get a challenge on that window if he's not careful. Just needs to make sure he doesn't overexpose himself from behind those boxes, but he's going to cautiously move himself away. First 50 seconds gone, and the enemy have been met, and the challenge is there, but the wall has been breached by Direwolves, so I think there's been, you know, positives on both sides so far this round.
Absolutely. I'm only coming back again to this point I touched on. Mowgli's really chancing it there, and he goes in for a second peek. It's kind of like an unwritten rule. You go for that second peek, chances are you're losing your life, and Pecan reminding him of that rule.
I think as a defender there, maybe, you know, Mowgli dips away and gets himself a bit of cover to take that fight, like you say, rather than directly re-peeking it. Rise is very unfortunate to get picked up on the drone there. There was an opportunity to get on the flank. Souffle is going to be taking damage, but it was Harambe who actually got the kill. So that's going to leave us with Rise down and out as well. And now in a 5 versus 3 for Direwolves. Much better attack this time around from them.
It is, yeah. They're taking their time with it as well, looking to pick off on these members of Wolves that are sort of overstaying their welcome on the other side of the map. Pecan into another, catches P4, crouch walking around sight, a 5v2, and with 60 seconds to go, Tim, this really should not be the kind of round that you're losing.
Largely almost casual from Direwolves, to be honest, that round. A lot of those kills were just coming in front of them, not too much of a problem at all. It wasn't something they were having to develop. They were just right place, right time, watching the right angles, exactly like that, you know, and just waiting for players to strafe across them. And I think Wolves were maybe a little bit too willing to move around and to put themselves into those danger spots. They just seemed a little bit unaware of their position in there, did Wolves, to me.
Yeah, the thing, I haven't said this on cast for a while, actually, but what I love about Siege is it feels like a game of chess in parts, but there's also that wonderful variable element of skill that comes in when FPS is considered too. With how that round played out, you saw the kind of loose structure of strategy, where for Wolves the whole idea was holding out towards Karaoke and T, wasting a bit of time and then slowly starting to back away. But where we've seen some teams, especially in APAC North when we first had this map come out and quite a few were jumping onto it, was the cut that attacking teams would try and make down the middle. You'd either try and get control of Terrace, which is just here in the center of your screen now, or you try and put focus up towards Shrine and play on the window. And that would essentially slice the map in half. That's why you reinforce the wall between Terrace and between Dragon. Thank you very much, Easy. Just to make sure you don't have that long angle being set all the way through. But the very last kill in that last round, you saw Direwolves had a player posted up on the Shrine window, got a freebie as the players were trying to move their way back. So it's one of those where Wolves maybe haven't fully considered, okay, actually we will come under threat from these certain locations on our way back towards site. And they just missed a couple of steps there in terms of playing for trades around the Karaoke T extension, in terms of watching out for the windows when trying to pull back towards site. Just a lot of things falling out of order for them almost. I know that they don't really play Skyscraper. It's not their go-to map. But really, you've got to be more cautious than that on this map.
We get into it then, 20 seconds into the action phase. A priority last time around for Direwolves was getting that breach wall opened up. They did so very, very quickly. I think they're going to be heading in the same direction. They've got Ray on the Thatcher up there. It was Jackie Wu who managed to do it last time with the Selma charges, so they didn't really have to send Harambe in with the risky thermite placement when there's the potential run out onto balcony. But once again, they're just sort of getting themselves surrounded and set up. There's absolutely no rush from them. There you go, nice and easy. Selma charge goes in. Impact Nade comes out this time, so they're going to deal with that and prevent that breach going on. Second Selma charge is taken out, and the third should do the job.
Yeah, I think back to like G2 where they played the other day. Oh my God, hello. I'm not sure who Pecan was hoping to find there whilst in a full sprint, unless he was trying to break the world speed record, but nowhere near trying to even stop Mowgli, who just caught him seemingly completely off guard. That's the opener down onto Pecan at the very least, and it will slow down Direwolves' ingress into the building.
Souffle is going to be sending his drone in, just pinging out that information so they know that somebody's playing in and around Shrine. In goes the Rotero drone as a follow-up to try and take that shield out. Will they get there? No! Oh, so close for Mowgli, but he is going to lose his shield. He tried to react, he saw it coming, but couldn't quite hit his shot. Now then, he's just going to wait for the push to come through. He's actually getting quite aggressive here to say that his shield's been taken out. He's using his brain because he knows that the push is going to come after it. If they've taken your brain out, sorry, if they've taken your shield out, what's the next step? The next step is to push that position. The drone is going to force him back, though. Immediately gets himself into some cover in Dragon, but Mowgli's not for leaving.
Okay. At least at this point, they've got a bit more of a handle on this round, Wolves, it feels like. A little more composed, a little more ready for what is no doubt about to follow. It's still just a 4 versus 5, mind you, so there is work for Wolves to do.
I think they've just misdrawn Mowgli. The drone went in, Mowgli stayed sat in the corner and didn't react to it coming through. Now, I'm pretty sure that it didn't turn around and see him, so Mowgli is in a killer position here at the minute because he's just got to wait for the Flores to try and push through. It's Souffle who's potentially going to move, and he's just going to hold himself in Dragon. We'll see when that comes together. Souffle tries to peek around the corner, and it's actually Rise who's able to step up and get that kill. I thought it was Mowgli who kept himself hidden, but it wasn't. It was Rise, and he's done huge damage with a double kill. We've got Jackie Wu down as well, and it's all up to Ray trying to push the breach, but no, that's going to be the end of the round, and Wolves take themselves a much better defence on Office and Exhibition.
And a flawless round at that as well. It's interesting, actually. I was speaking to a couple of players yesterday, because for those who watched Dark Zero in the last, I don't know, maybe 9 months or so, you'll notice they're really quite... Hang on. No idea what he was saying, but we'll go for it. 9 months ago or so, you saw Dark Zero start playing a really quiet game. Like, we all know Troy as being the screamy, shouty kind of guy that he is. But for the last year or so, you haven't really seen that be a part of Dark Zero. And I remember speaking to him and asking him, you know, okay, why are you guys so calm? Because that's not what you're known for. And he said, well, you don't want to be too high and you don't want to be too low on energy. If you go too high, you just exhaust yourself, especially coming into a series that's like a best of 3, for example. And there is a point to this that I'll come on to in a minute, I promise.
I'll look forward to it.
I'm sure you will. And what he was saying was back when he used to scream and shout a lot was sometimes it puts some of the players on edge, right? And those who aren't really good with that high energy situation, the ones who kind of prefer to be more in their zone and playing well, that's their sort of vibe. It was trying to change and adapt more towards what others needed. Whereas what my only concern is for Wolves here, and I think you saw it a little bit there, is Rise every single round is going absolutely balmy when they win. And understandably so, they've really struggled. They want to celebrate when they win. But you're seeing other players kind of being a little bit calmer, more focused on the game itself. And it's where you don't want to catch that kind of disharmony amongst the team, the disruption almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Discord amongst them in terms of energy levels, that it doesn't start to cause a bit of an issue. I don't think it will, but it's just really interesting watching how different members are treating this scenario very differently given what it means to them.
Going down to Kitchen and Barbecue for this defence. It's an interesting choice because they did have Karaoke and Tea available to them because of the loss in Office and Exhibition. Pecan finds his way in. They've no idea. There's absolutely not a clue. Bibu, that is one of those moments. Why is he there? Oh, yeah. We've got an Ashe that's rushed straight up into Shrine. And that's important because essentially when you're attacking Kitchen and Barbecue, a lot of it is the same as Karaoke and Tea. It's about getting control of the same area, getting control of getting control of Karaoke, and then being able to push down vertically into sight. So it is an important step, and that's a great start from Pecan.
He's a little bit worried about the Mute Gemmer that sat on that door as well. Does not want to be trying to run that through and losing the drone for free. I think it's actually above though, right? Yeah, it is. It's above. Because he got really close and I was like, he hasn't lost his drone to be fair, but then he realises, yeah, it actually is on the upstairs. Didn't want to crawl on through, but it's Rise who's now pushing into space that was created by Pecan. Bringing him down, but Wolves are down to just 2 here as well. Holding on the vertical, waiting for the cross to come forward. He's a matter of a couple of pixels away here, but he's not going to find his man.
The big problem here is that P4 is all alone in sight. Rise is not really in a position to be able to deny anything on site, even with the verticals that he's got potentially. I think there's still going to be a bit of pressure top floor. Direwolves can easily afford to leave a man up there just to hassle him, and that's exactly what's happened. We can see the silhouette ahead of us, and the other 3 have now gone down towards the bottom floor to be able to start pushing on towards site. P4, he's just relocating as well. And there you go. The kills are going to start coming in as Direwolves start pushing themselves forward, taking more and more ground.
Timing on that as well. Just as he pops the gadget is when he gets pushed. Unlucky, my son. Yep, it's a 3 versus 1. Temporarily, I was going to say, at least at the very most, and it ends as a 4-0. Good round for Direwolves.
Harambe thought about getting the diffuser down there, but I think there was probably a little bit of intel that just told him where the last man was coming from.
Okay, so as things sit, we've seen both teams really throw a little bit at each other here. 2-2 we sit at, and I did stress saying, look, this is Direwolves' map pick. If they're walking over 3 rounds on the attack, they will be ecstatic. They've got 2 of those so far, and I think Wolves may start to feel the pressure here as well, but it is Direwolves that call in the tactical timeout to have a conversation about how they can end this half at 3-3 or potentially 4-2. Well, I'm screwed, listen to this.
pressure on side. And then after we have drum control, we can have two options. We open Dragon Wall from Garden with EMP, or we open the Garden Wall into your side and ignore Dragon. That's the two options. But don't go Dragon straight away. Ignore them. That's early round.
哎，我他们假如点是 office，
So a bit of talk there about pushing their way in through Dragon Wall by the sounds of it, making use of some EMPs, Tim.
Yeah, and also a little bit of what not to do. It's an interesting point, though. You know, how much, how much of that coach's time is spent saying, "Look, let's try doing it this way," versus, reviewing what's been done. You know, how much do you look back at, this could have been done better, versus, what do we do going forward? So another fascinating insight there. But yeah, we're in for a hell of a game here on Skyscraper. I'm absolutely certain of it. This is going to continue throughout it. You can just see it coming. The one thing that I would say for Wolves here, as a team that you look at as being one of the top European teams, and they have been. They have been. They are in regional competition, but you look at it and this game, and this is no slight on Direwolves, but you just feel for Wolves that this game shouldn't be this close. They should be coming in and winning these games. And imagine Wolves now up against Sonics or W7M.
I mean, we've already seen them against Sonic 7, it didn't go well.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I look at it and I think, it's okay to get excited about Wolves. If you're a Wolves fan here, get excited. They need that first win. But, the realistic element is as well, they're going to have to improve their performances going forward.
Massively so. It's one of those that I'm looking at and thinking, okay, there's a small element of recovery being shown in this game, but still some of the cracks that need to be addressed before they go into their final game against Liquid. Just as a reminder, 5 days of groups, 5 teams per group, does mean we have a break day per team throughout the group stage, and Wolves have their day off tomorrow. That's why this series is so important. Direwolves still have 2 swings of the bat against a couple of teams to try and get some points on the board as well. This group, though, it just looks a bit hectic down at the bottom right now, where there's Liquid and these 2 teams waiting.
Oh, it's going to be an absolute slugfest come the last couple of days for who's going to get out of here. A few of our groups are shaping up like that. Group C as well. Group C is going to be absolutely wild come the end of things.
Oh, it's already mental. We've got, I think, 3 teams on 4 points.
Yeah, exactly. It's just going to be crazy come the end of things. And that's exactly the way that we like it. So, Souffle just going to be taking out barricades for the time being. It's still a bit of an informational phase for Direwolves, going in there with the drones, getting the facts, clearing out the default cams, all the basics, before they start pushing in towards site.
Well, we spoke about these EMPs being used around Dragon, and it's Ray who's got those in back pocket here on the Dakabi. One has already been burnt out here as well as they step their way forward, and Mowgli will be the first challenger waiting inside a drum behind this shield. ADS to support. This can be a real hard point to break open, so Direwolves have really got to work together to get through this next phase of the map.
Mowgli's been a little bit quiet so far compared to his last game, but as I say that, he proves me wrong. Gets a kill onto Ray. P4's on the flank. Mowgli will be taken down, but Rise onto Jackie Wu leaves Wolves with a 4 versus 2 advantage. It's all up to the Sledge and the Thermite. They've got the tools that they need, but they don't have the manpower. That's the problem at the minute. They know exactly where Harambe is coming from, and Rise and the rest of the team now just sitting back and waiting on those angles.
That's the magic word there, Tim. Well, magic word, sitting back. They've immediately realised we're in a 4 versus 2. Forget about Drum, forget about Shrine, get back on site because we know that we win in these crossfires, in the trades that we want to play for. Now, Souffle wants to try and make use of these frag grenades to go fishing for a couple of kills on the upstairs. If he can find a player and bring it down to a 2 versus 3, fantastic. You're giving yourself a big advantage there and trying to go for these fights. You'll still be at a numbers deficit, but at least you're making it a little bit easier on yourselves.
Looks like it could be a good first attempt as the... Oh, no, just misses on the far side of the wall. And I think Raj just getting a little bit lucky there. Takes a tickle of damage, but nothing more.
What was that noise?
We're going to have a second attempt here. Will it be successful? Nope, the movement is perfectly timed from Shinka as he avoids a lot of the damage as well. Harambe is going to be able to open up the gold bars wall, but in 30 seconds we haven't really seen Wolves move too far, Des, because they didn't need to. Perfectly played. They just held their angles, waited for the time when Direwolves had to push and picked up those final kills. Wolves, they take round 5.
Good stuff. Yes, they have. And that's even after Direwolves' tactical timeout on the attack inside here. I think at 3 defensive rounds, you won't beat yourself up as Wolves, but you know that they want that 4-2 score going into the second half because, as I mentioned, this is one of their weaker maps. You look at their map priority in terms of results, when they've last played these maps, how they've done, when they've banned it in their ban phases when it comes to the veto, it is way down at the very bottom. So I'm a little bit concerned about what we'll see on the attacking side, but as far as the defensive side goes, I think it's been a pretty good half from Wolves.
Yeah, it's been all right. I think they could really do with taking a 4-2. They could really do with getting this one and giving themselves an advantage. like you say, coming in, we don't know necessarily what we're going to get on the attack. But if Mowgli plays on the attack like he did on Kafe, you know, I've said that he's been a little bit quiet on the defense, but he was on Kafe, and he still finished the game on 14 kills. So it's not the end of the world if he can start getting in on those entries. You know, Knock is available again. It's the operator that we saw him using primarily last time around, and it's just a bit of a nightmare of an operator. You know, especially with somebody like Mowgli, he can sneak up on you. You barely hear them coming, and he can cause a lot of problems.
Absolutely can. Well, here we go then with the last attacking round of the half for Direwolves before they flick over to playing on the defense. Once more, I imagine we'll see an extension coming out from Wolves, pushing members out towards the west side of the map and looking to cause a bit of bother. The one thing I'll pull back to is my comment last time around when they played this and lost it, was down to that weakness in the middle of the map. I mean, one, they kind of got backstabbed through terrace and lost a couple of players, but they also had no awareness of the player that was on Shrine who picked up the final kill far too easily. Souffle, I believe it was. And by the looks of it, Direwolves are saying, let's go straight to that point again, slice the map in half, and look to be able to contest anyone pulling back to site.
We can just hear the Selma charge about to detonate as well. That's been deployed. I don't know how much is being done to prevent that on the wall. I think we've probably just had an impact trick. A second one will come out, so that's 2 Selma charges destroyed at this point. And then the final one will be placed and likely get the job done. Now, P4, he's just holding inside of sight. Still haven't got that breach open, actually. That's all 3 Selma charges used and still nothing on the breach.
Not yet, at least. They're getting a couple of walls opened up elsewhere first, including the one into Geishas. That'll be a starting point for them to keep on moving through. Entirely the single wall that sits between Geisha and Drum as well has been left completely soft and opened up, so he can keep on moving. Well, not opened up. Left soft, sorry, opened up by the Thermite on the right-hand side, because, as you commented yesterday on Club Tim, you're opening up that single construction wall. You took it onto the right. It will also take out some of the wall that exists between construction and between Logi. That's exactly what you're seeing in action there, opening up a nice angle for Harambe to get his way through.
Yeah, it's certainly worth considering. If you've got walls that are positioned at 90 degrees to each other, you can do a bit of damage to both by going over to an extreme edge. Now then, Impact Nade, the Impact EMP comes in, and that's going to give the opportunity for Harambe to open that final wall. That's all the hard breaching done. Ooh, that's a nice move from Harambe. Gets really aggressive, pushes up to minibar, and we now find ourselves in a 3 versus 3 as Ray and Souffle managed to find kills as well. Rise is going to try to work his way back in, but Wolves just need to be careful of the movement here because there are enemies deep in sight, and that's going to leave us now 2v2, 50 seconds left to go. There's plenty of time for Direwolves. They don't have to rush a thing.
Nah, Wolves are getting a bit skittish there, I think, as well, and trying to throw smokes out, go for gunfights. They don't really need to, as Direwolves haven't gone in for a plant yet. But this is exactly what they spoke about on Kafe. You step too far deep and Wolves get a bit skittish, start looking for fights. But Ray's got round behind them there, whilst all their focus was on site itself. It's Bibu in a 1 versus 2 to bring the half up to 4 and 2 for them.
Got to be an opportunity to get this diffuser down here. Harambe, I thought, might have gone for it, given that Ray had the cover across reception, but no, Ray has relocated again, took a few shots as he tried to move away, didn't actually do any damage. I thought Bibu had hit him, but here comes the final challenge. Ray with the spray down. He's going to shut it out, and that's a 3-3 half.
Nice. Nice. Good attack, I think, there coming out from Direwolves as well, just slowly working their way through. Wolves kind of conceding terrace contest early on. This normally is where you got a couple of players that are hanging out towards Drum, towards Shrine, for example, looking to move around that side of the map. They pulled back to site relatively early on and didn't have any outside map control. But really, I think all of that came down to Harambe as well, with a bit of support from EMPs, for example, but did a lot of the hard work there in getting key walls opened up and taking really good control of the map.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate one for Wolves. They did a lot good in the beginning of the round. They prevented the Selma charges completely, and they forced the Thermite to be the only hard breacher effectively, kept the breach wall closed directly onto site. They did an awful lot, but there was just a point in the round where Direwolves said, right, almost a 3-2-1 point, and we saw one of them pushing behind small bar at the time. I commented on it, and that aggressive move forward was just accompanied by a couple of kills at the same time, and Wolves just got caught off guard with it. So that brings us into our second half then. Wolves come on to the attack, and this first couple of rounds is going to be vital for them.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think you've really got to start strong on the attacking side here. Otherwise, you're going to feel like Oregon is a foregone conclusion, that it's just going to roll round without any real question. I like the difference in the change of the setups as well between either side. Here we go, C4 out towards spawn side, hoping to catch someone. But Wolves probably a little bit too wide to that, even with it not being a map they play often. No one taking any damage from it.
No, it's risk and reward, isn't it? You know, really those nitros can be very powerful at the end of the round, and throwing one away in the first 10 seconds, it's always a big risk. But, you know, it's not paid off this time, but it's not to say that it never will. Now, P4, he's going to be opening up the window into... window into terrace there. I just thought that Souffle was going to get a view out onto balcony, but Wolves weren't pushing quite as aggressively as I thought. So terrace has been opened up. They've got access into there as a minimum, and then they can start getting themselves in, get aggressive. But they do have a mirror window to play into, and this is a pretty extended defense from Dire Wolves.
It is, but I like it. I love these kind of setups when the teams go really aggressive. I just think back to, you know, a good while ago, there were a couple of teams, BDS, Koi were a great example, back when they were known as Rogue, were sometimes overextend and overhold. Dire Wolves have kind of sent everyone out to this side of the map. There's like 3 of them out here, and now they've all dropped downstairs and they're working their way under. I like this because it kind of does away with the cut that I was talking about earlier through Shrine and Dragon. They've avoided that problem entirely and found a C4 onto a key man in Mowgli. Beautiful defense.
I don't know if there was maybe an opportunity for Wolves here to push a little bit more directly towards site. It's gone now as the players have, you know, pushed back over. But at one point, 4 of the Dire Wolves players were all on the east side of the map, and there was a potential opportunity. There was nobody inside of Karaoke, for example. You know, just sometimes the simple plans can be the best. A nice little rappel, a nice little plant inside the window. You know, it's not always necessarily that simple, but you've got to ask if Dire Wolves could have scrambled that quickly back across the map. And again, get yourself in the right positions and you'll catch them out as they try to.
Well, Wolves already did that back on Kafe, I remember, when they just chose to go and hit site on Kitchen, I think it was. Really caused some bother for Dire Wolves in that one round, so they could have spotted it, but I think they'd already basically committed everything out towards the east side. Every player was pushing together, and I don't blame them. When you feel like you're struggling a little bit for communication, you'd rather have the players in close proximity to play for trades, for example, or to get something coming back. Pecan here potentially in a spot of bother. I think he was trying to be really cheeky on the prone angle, but not going to find his man as he was droned out and forced away. So good discipline being shown by Wolves until go down 2, make it 3. They have crushed them on the run through. Shinka finds one back, but there's 4 to go. This feels like a Dire Wolves round.
Certainly does. Pecan getting excited there, trying to get out of the geisha window and find a kill. It didn't happen, but it didn't really matter because Souffle picks up the final, and that is going to be the round going to Dire Wolves. And it is certainly a close one at the minute. 4-3, Dire Wolves take themselves an advantage now. It's been back and forward throughout. That's actually the first time, Des, that we've had a team take 2 consecutive rounds. It's been Wolves, Dire Wolves, Wolves, Dire Wolves, but now Dire Wolves have bucked that trend. They've changed the path, and they've gone back to back.
This one now you said that. You've cursed them, Tim. You ever heard of the fabled Tim Lever curse?
I live it every day.
In ranked, yeah.
Going to look at round 8, then it's going to be office and exhibition this time. We've got the castle on side from Jackie Wu, so we'll keep an eye on where those barricades go. One has gone on the door from reception through to exhibition, so that's going to prevent any pushers coming from the top of the main stairs there. We'll see where the others end up as we go. I don't think he's actually deployed any yet. Possibly single window exhibition. No, it's the normal barricade.
At least for now.
That's the bet.
I always say, but
there's 2 more somewhere because he's only got 1 in pocket. But
is Easy playing the Go Hunt game? Can we go find them, please, Easy? Where are they all? Ooh. Go on, boy. Go find the castle barricades. You can find them. Come on.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. There's one. I haven't got a bone to give you for this, by the way. I'm just asking you to do it for a bit of fun. There's the other one. There we go. All found.
So basically, those castle barricades are looking to prevent the push coming in from the T and Karaoke side. It's looking to provide a little bit of stability for the players playing inside a shrine, just to try and stop that sort of west to east push.
Looking at it as well, that they've lost one of their heart breaches here. Yes, you've still got the exothermics on side from Shinka, but losing your ace so early on is a real stinger. Pecan trying to get cheeky out of a window, and P4 may have been caught unawares, almost there, but just about gets away with it. And Mowgli is half a second off and gets hit on the side. That's a classic siege time moment if you're ever going to see one.
P4 just getting himself into bedroom at the minute, looking to move up the house stairs potentially, but again, nope, straight back out of the window. Wolves, you know, unsurprisingly, just looking a little bit unsure here, a little bit shaky. They've lost, you know, 2 major players there, one with a hard breach, and then Mowgli with the nades as well. And This attack is just not looking good for them. They could potentially lose the first two. They're going to look to just help Shinka get that wall open, but nope, it is not working for them at the minute.
Easy pointed out, by the way, that kill that came onto Rise at the start with the C4 was the exact one we spoke about last round, that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just that time, it worked.
Risk and reward.
Risk and reward. Not really a lot of risk outside of losing a C4, but the reward can be massive. As said, a heart breacher taken off the board. It is as dreamy as it gets for the first kill to take down, unless someone's relying on, say, a Thatcher. But that is not on side. Instead, you've got things like the Flores rolling through here, including the nades that were coming out of the sledge and the Nook. Those have now been drained away. And it just feels like the tactical options for Wolves to get this round over the finish line are slowly being bled away, Tim.
It certainly does. Wolves are trying many different things. They seem to, certainly be pushing to different areas and trying to, work their way into different spots in the map. And Direwolves have just got the answer at every turn, it looks.
Again, it's their map pick. You'd expect a team to be more composed coming into their choice, especially when it's such a weak choice for the other side. P4 has no idea. I think there's a man to his right. Oh, he does, and he finds Jackie Wu. Steps around and goes for another one. Can he find this 1v1? No, he can't. He's shooting all too high as Souffle doubles up, helps himself to some dessert of Bibu, and now it's down to just Shinka by himself against 3.
It's not going to be easy, and I think one thing that Wolves need to change, and it's the easiest thing to say in the world and probably the most difficult thing to change, they need to start finding the kills. There was an opportunity there for P4 going in there on the knock. He could have got his second man inside of Dragon, and if he gets that kill, it really starts to open things up a bit. You sort of, I think, level on man count at that point, and nothing can be done about the double frost mat on the window there. Shinka with very few options other than to go in and try and get something going. But yeah, I think, Wolves, they just need to start hitting those shots and getting those gunfights. It's the biggest they just need to in the world, really. But, that's what's costing them at the minute, because they're pushing into areas and just not being able to progress through them.
And they know at this point that this timeout is so sorely needed as well. These couple of attacks really haven't been the most strongly put together, I think it's fair to say. Direwolves have looked like the ones really in full control on the defensive side of Skyscraper. We did expect it. It's basically an exact mirror of what we saw on Kafe, but somewhere they've got to be able to dig out a few rounds here to, at the very least, send us through to overtime.
They do. We can see Lilu now just trying to, have the impact of a coach to try and turn the fate around here at the minute, because that's 3 rounds in a row that have gone to Direwolves now, and Wolves' mental is surely going to be getting shaken at this point.
Comme elle a dit Laurie, les frères, moi j'ai toujours demandé qu'on ouvre les fenêtres accueil et tout. Là, on a l'info du mec, il est jacuzzi carrément, il a le temps de passer jusqu'à Bamen.
Sounds a bit tense in the Wolves camp, Tim.
I said this, if you remember, at the end of map 1, I said there was the bit of a celebration, and then the conversation that followed with Bibu and others, it seemed a little bit intense. It seemed like, there was obviously, emotions were high, which is understandable.
Yeah, 100%.
But as, we've said, you've got to, make sure that is managed as well. And at the minute, maybe just slightly getting the better of Wolves.
I mean, it's P4 mainly as well that looks like the most animated. I said it earlier on when you had the highs of Rise coming out. P4 looked a little bit on edge, a little bit focused on the game, and now things aren't going super well. You're seeing him being, I don't want to say toxic, so I can't understand what he's saying, but from the tone of his voice, you can sense the frustration, right?
Yeah, I think within a team environment, yeah, you wouldn't, it wouldn't be toxic, toxic really. It's just like
you'd be surprised, Tim.
What I mean is, I think it's just viewed slightly differently within a team environment. I'm not, the behaviour is just viewed differently.
Yeah.
And I think it's, just that passion of, wanting to turn things around, and like you say, that bit of frustration creeping in and things. Like I say, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be motivating to people sometimes, but they just need to be cautious and conscious that, those emotions don't get the better of them. We've seen teams struggle with, getting a bit too emotional sometimes, and we don't want Wolves to fall foul of that.
Souffle's done a great job, by the way. He's got out there and killed 3 drones out on their own, bringing Wolves down to just 5 before they've even started looking at the building. 30 seconds in, only having half the utility left is going to be a concerning point. Probably also frustrating, given they've just had that tactical timeout about the plans they wanted, and there's Mowgli once again being found out by Pecan.
Pecan's done great on the entry so far, been very, very active at the beginning of the rounds. That's his 4th entry kill to no entry deaths at the minute, I think. Oh no, sorry, 3 entry deaths. So he's been very active in the entry, but 4-3 and still on top of things. And he's just giving Direwolves great starts. starts in these rounds. You know, they've lost, granted, the Ash this time, not the end of the world. It's, you know, similar to, as I explained, with the Frost. It's an operator that, you know, while she does have some useful utility, it's not essential utility, and she's looking to get in there and get kills, but just not happening for Mowgli on this map.
Do you know a funny link I've just drawn, by the way? A souffle is a French dessert. And right now, they may as well be the eggs on the side of Wolves because he is beating them up. The whole team are. Souffle especially, though, are 10-3. Having an absolute meal of these boys. Peeking on the other side. You're seeing the difference that a map can have here in a team's confidence as well. It does feel like, again, with the util slowly running empty on the side of Wolves, especially as far as the util goes for information, things might start to get really frustrating. Pecan here has managed to slither his way across with very few drones to spot him making this move. He could be in a great spot here to have a massive impact.
He certainly could. Rise, I'm not sure, is aware of his position there. There's the drone that was needed. Rise not facing the right way to make the challenge. Pecan's given him a freebie there. That is an absolute get-out-of-jail-free card for Rise as Pecan misses his shots and Rise is able to find that kill. That swings the man count to 4-3 in favour of Wolves as a second kill comes in alongside Rises, and all of a sudden they might just be in the driving seat.
Although they've come down in numbers, there's still work to do. They've got to breach their way through a shield here. They can't win on. No way does he win that on the reverse, but he has. 2 more kills come the way of Wolves. This should be a moment of celebration as even Souffle is mixed and thrown out in the trash. Look at Rise. He's so in for it. I love it.
Rise got every single drop out of those hit points that he had there, didn't he? Pecan left him low, but he was able to get that kill and then a second on top of it. And as you see, you know, the passion is bubbling, but they need to be careful it doesn't bubble over.
Allez, next round, ils sont tout le temps aggro sur les débuts de round. Venez, on n'est pas naïf. Go!
Allez, let's go next round. That's what they're in for. One more round, boys. All you can do is play the game that's in front of you, and round 10 is the one that awaits Wolves here. Still some work to do. They have one kind of lifeline here before Dire Wolves push us up to at least match point and then can guarantee that overtime, if not the win, awaits Wolves as well. So 2 more rounds for Wolves to pull us back up to a similar point. I think with how it's played out, that last round was good. Is it going to be enough to get them all the way over the finish line? I don't think so. I wouldn't be surprised if Oregon awaits us in just a few rounds' time.
Okay then, Wolves, they've got an opportunity here to level things up before Dire Wolves get themselves that map point and opportunity at least to be able to take them through to the 3rd round. Now then, what is going on here? We have got the Wamai of Ray. He's looking at the cams. He's stood next to a barricade, Des. What do you think he's thinking?
Oh, I do wonder what Ray could pass. Never mind.
Thanks, Ray.
Cheers, mate. Just really ruined my day. You know, guys called Ray, just can't take it. Okay. It's the only guy that I know that's called Ray.
Okay.
That's just bad people.
We've got Black Ray.
He's not giving the fans what they want. Yeah, but he's not called Ray, is he, though?
No.
To be fair, neither is he. His name's Shen.
There you go.
But in-game, he's called Ray, so I'm going to take it for that. That's what I think the C is, by the way. His first name's Shen, so Ray Shen.
Okay.
Today you learn.
Round 10.
I know his name's Shen. I know pro players.
Not a big deal.
No big deal. I've never actually spoken to him. I just know that his name's Shen. I was going through his Wikipedia earlier on. I was like, oh, Shen. Sure, he's a lovely guy.
Oakley going to call in the E1 scan as we start to get this wall open. Souffle is going to have to get himself out of dodge there and takes a little bit of damage as he does so. There's going to be the shutdown as Mowgli moves in and takes the rest of his hit points with a headshot, and that is going to give an advantage to Wolves. They are on the warpath. They do not want to be going to a 3rd map, but Pecan once again has had some very impressive moments and big kill moments particularly, and once again comes out just when Dire Wolves need it.
Absolutely. Really turning it on this game as well. I know he's sat at 10-9 as well, so has died as much as he's got kills, but that impact cannot be ignored. Same for Souffle, as we commented earlier on as well. Looks like Wolves here might change up their game plan. Last time round on this attack, we commented and said, you know, they've put so much focus on trying to attack as a 4, all in the same direction. Here, it's looking a little bit different. They've got one playing on the downstairs. I believe it's P4 on the Nook. 2 focusing to come in through this side, Geisha. And then one still hanging out towards the far east. I believe it's Rise there who's droning his team through, making sure they can start marching in. They have quite a bit of utility still on side as well, with the flashes, the frag grenades, the EMPs, if they need them. I don't think they will at this point. So they've still got a lot to work with, even with Mowgli being down.
P4 looking for those vertical nades, but the player is long gone. The ping will no longer be active. He'll give it another try, but still not going to have any joy. He reactivates his gadget, and off he goes. He's going to come head-to-head. How about that for timing? I'm not sure, no. I was going to say I'm not sure that the player on the black stairs was aware. He is now, and it's an absolute freebie as Harambe walks down and manages to get the kill in his back. Rise is going to be taken down as well. And that leaves us now in a 4 versus 1. The round is over, and Direwolves have got themselves an opportunity on map point.
Bit of a car crash is the only real way to describe that. A little bit mistimed on their movement. I mean, the push onto Black Stairs was really messy. I think it was Rise and Mowgli that were pushing. It wasn't Mowgli, it was P4, sorry, pushing up onto that. A little bit ill-timed, not respecting the fact that going over the barbed wire does make quite a noise. You know, on the sheer basis that you've got Rise coming in from the shrine window, or the shrine balcony, pushing in through top Black Stairs, he can see if someone's above you on the balcony or not. You should be trusting the player there to give you the information. But it's almost like P4 didn't trust Rise to have that covered, and he was looking completely the wrong way. Black Stairs was the blind spot, and that's where he dies from. In fact, it's where both of them died from. So a breakdown in communication from Wolves at the very end of that round there has cost them what would have been a really big power position coming into an execute.
Going to have some reinforcements just extended over to the west side then, office exhibition hold. But we saw this previously with a castle from Wolves, but this time it's going to be more direct reinforcements and gadgetry over there to prevent that west side push. It's going to be the Thorn of Souffle that's going to be trying to hold on to that area for the time being. I don't know if we'll have a shift in personnel as the round gets underway, but no, it looks like Souffle is going to be locked in position. How about this aggression though? Harambe straight out of the door, and Direwolves really looking to take the fight to Wolves.
I don't blame them as well, why wouldn't you? Honestly, brimming with confidence at this point, knowing they're at 6 and 4, it's their map pick, they're on the defensive side, everything's going your way. My main note, I know it kind of feels like silly to flipping it back to Wolves again, but my concern is they were really high after map 1. I wouldn't be surprised if they feel really low if they don't win this map, and that's my concern going into Oregon is, are they going to be able to hold it together coming up against Direwolves for a 3rd time?
Harambe, look at him again, wanting to just get out of those windows. He's wanting any opportunity to get a nice opener. The Direwolves can just feel this. They know that the opportunity's there for them, and they just there. You the managers to grab it, and they've just basically overstretched a little bit. I think they're sort of, you know, maybe grasping at this a little bit too much, but they do have 2 opportunities to be able to close this one out. So we'll see how it goes through the rest of the round. But Harambe is going to lose his life to begin with, and leaves us in a 5 versus 4.
It was such a great read from Mowgli as well. You know, you're against the Solis there as well. You have very little chance of knowing what the hell's actually going on, but the read onto what was going on inside of Laundry was absolutely perfect. Bringing down that Solis, again, risk versus reward. She is an aggressive operator, but it is high risk to play her.
Shinka just, again, trying to push with Rise. They've got plenty of breaching potential between them. They've got one wall open. They're going to look to get the one directly on into sight as well. And that's not going to be successful for the time being. We're just going to have something opened up from underneath, I think, just to clear off any of the gadgetry that's preventing that wall from being breached. Conscious of the jump out as well. Wolves taking their time here, 1 minute 15. They need to get moving.
They do. And with themselves in the 5 versus 4, I mean, partly says don't rush it massively, but have got to get things opened up, which they are indeed now doing quite comfortably. It's about working in from there as well, because you can see several of them all gathered around this one side of the map. Bibu's the only one who's a little bit further off, looking to cut this angle back towards site. P4 finding one more, is traded out though on the other side. 2 more coming back in for Direwolves as Mowgli makes it another. There's 2 left standing. It's Ray and it's Pecan. Now it's just Ray against 2. Can he clutch out for Direwolves?
Just seeing if he can get his man coming through. He just needs 1 cheap kill here, essentially. If he can hold his angles, in comes the nade. That's certainly not going to help him to hold his angles. Shinka's in a position to try and get that.
Oh, that's C4.
Out goes the Nitro toss. He's not going to find its mark, and the cover has to be in place. Here comes through. Beauty from Ray. Can he find the second for the successful 1v2? He's going to switch over to the shotgun. It's all down to Shinka. 15 seconds left to go.
He's played it so peacefully. Played it so well. Shinka with another flash on side as well. He's going to flash in there. Does he find his man? He looks the wrong way. way, but in comes Shinka. Gets the shutdown, and they give themselves that chance to get to OT.
Wolves fighting back. They need one more round, though. They've still got Dire Wolves on the front foot, essentially, with another opportunity to close this out on Skyscraper. But just like Kafe does, these two have been evenly matched, and it's been fantastic entertainment.
It has as well. Great play from Shinka in the 1v1 as well. Ray really looked like he was going to do it there, but the flashes just sadly working against him. It ain't all about burning flashes early in the round, Tim. Sometimes they're useful late in the round as well. Last site's going to be Barbecue and Kitchen for regulation. Either it ends here 7-5 to Dire Wolves and we go on to Oregon, or Wolves pull us into overtime. I know exactly which one of those two they would prefer, but Dire Wolves, they want to see their map closed out.
Attackers have located a bomb.
It's going to be Kitchen and Barbecue then for Dire Wolves to try and close this one. Last time around that we saw this site defended, we saw, you know, much of a top floor presence. It was back in round 4. We saw it from Wolves defensively, and round 9 we saw it from Dire Wolves defensively. But interestingly, it was one of the attacking rounds that Wolves won was onto this site. So Dire Wolves going to have to do things a little bit differently than they have previously.
Very true. Solus coming in once again. Spoke about it a couple of times here in terms of the, not so much the aggression, but the risk that operator's been bringing, but so far looked very successful, Tim.
Yeah, it has, you know, been very impactful when we've seen Source. We've seen a couple of diffuser denials. We've seen all sorts going on. And yeah, very, very good from that operator so far.
All right, let's see if they can sip him out there and bring him down. Souffle also the one looking to cause a little bit of bother out on the roam here as well. Looks for the most part, you have most of, in fact, pretty much all of Wolves starting on the same side of the map as well, wanting to do a full site clear. Not forgetting that we are attacking on towards the downstairs here. They want to get control of this side over towards Exhibition, work their way over towards Karaoke and Tea, and then worry about the vertical. My only concern there being that you have a lot of ground to work through. We're about a third of the way in the round. They've just about got control on this east side. They're still got to get top control, then worry about prepping the site for the execute. It's a lot to do.
Certainly is. P4 just moving through, taking gadgets out as he goes. The Capcan traps are going to be taken down. Shows that good attention is being paid from Wolves. They're certainly not rushing into this. They've got the drones out ahead of them. They know what they're going to be walking into. Hopefully no surprises for them. Dire Wolves are pretty much set up on the top floor and the west side of the map, looking to hold on for as long as possible. Mowgli's going to open things up with one onto Pecan, who is once again involved in that entry battle.
Stillness for a moment there after that first opening kill. Here comes the swing as well. Harambe losing out on that one. It's looking pretty good for Wolves as they find 2 more. A temporary 4 versus 2 kicking into play, and it feels like they might have just done enough here to force us through into overtime. Mowgli finding 1 more. Jackie, the last one left standing. Is he more Jackie Chan or more? I don't know. Jackie something else. He's got to find 4 kills, make it 5 for himself, actually, as they did get the one back up on his feet here. This feels like a bit of an impossible task, Tim.
It certainly does. He's just going to be looking at those vertical angles. He knows that's where the pressure is likely to come from to begin with before Wolves go and try to get themselves into sight. That is 1, that is 2. Can't do it all. Cut down Shinka. Ultimately, Wolves just flooding into that position, and you can hear the passion on the Wolves side there as they get themselves into overtime. And this is an opportunity for them to close out in 2 and get what could be a very important full 4 points.
I love the 2 styles of passion, though, because both Rise and P4 celebrated there, just in very different ways. Yeah. Rise, the more visible, arms out, yeah! Whereas P4 was the same, but kind of down into his lap and just like, yes! Like, I love it.
Certainly does.
We need to get a stat going at some point, Tim.
Yeah, I think we do.
I'm feeling some passion.
At Invitational last year,
oh, it was unreal. We had the little boost, didn't we?
We did get a little bit. So we got one of the sort of players' practice areas once some teams had left and gone. We did get set up in one of those to be able to play together.
Do you reckon if we ask really nicely, Ubi will give us a room?
They may well.
Because there are a lot of teams. There are 20 teams here. So people are going to go home in the next, 4 days. When we're kind of in chill time, we can play some rankings.
It was a bit easier in Sweden because everybody was in it was like a custom set-up area, wasn't it? It was just like booth after booth after booth.
Yeah, it felt like little silos that had just all been put there. So you could hear everyone talking and screaming. It was a good laugh, actually. I enjoyed that. Whereas here, it's a bit more like privatised in little hotel rooms. It's nice. I haven't got a keyboard or a mouse, though. Actually, that's a lie. I've got a mouse, it's not a keyboard.
I've got mine.
You got your keyboard? Mm-hmm. Wow, sweat. I'll steal one off someone, I'm sure.
We're going to get into what could be the first of 2 or potentially 3 rounds. It was in overtime. It's going to be the best of 3 rounds, so the first team to win 2 will take the overall win here. If that's Wolves, they will take a full 4 points and a 2-0 win. Dire Wolves obviously going to be doing their best to prevent that. They continue on the defense, which doesn't really carry any advantage. It's been 3-3 in both halves. I don't think he's going to get away with that. The second EMP, that's why you use 2 EMPs. Pecan having to just dip back away from this.
You got a PME
I don't know what came out then.
Really tickled me. But no, we saw this yesterday when we had a Bandit ban. I think a Bandit pit was coming out, actually. We said, okay, why ban away the Kaid? It's because it is a lot easier to trick off a Kaid. As you saw then, 2 AMPs, it's enough to guarantee. I was at it then as well, Tim. PMEs, why not? Almost got their way through the wall with both of those 2. Just simply can't deny them away. The Kaid arm time is a little bit too slow. Ray's down on the deck, may well be the first casualty of the round if he's not rescued soon. Is back on his feet, but being quickly pursued by Mowgli.
Easy as that. As Mowgli steps around, he's going to have to dip back. He wanted to get aggressive there, but the gadget of Thorn just forcing him back. He couldn't push in through that razor bloom, just had to hinder and step back on his movement. Couldn't quite continue.
Oh,
What's the beat from Souffle?
How has he got away with that? That is unreal. I can only imagine there he's taking the read on where he shot the camera from and had a bit of a pre-fire. But literal first bullet when rounding a corner blind to get a headshot. What?
Souffle there, just gunning through the walls. He can continue fighting here from Drum. I don't think he's keen on going anywhere. The pre-fire is pretty easy, but somehow Wolves really get away with that. Bibu is going to be down, but likely is potential for pickup there. Jackie Wu manages to get Rise, leaving us in a 3v3 if Bibu does get collected. He's just stepping back. Yep, the opportunity's there. He's going to be too late now, but is he? No. He's going to find Shinka and Bibu managed to get That was chaos at the end of that round.
You haven't won yet, Rise. It's like they've won the whole Six Invitational.
The thing is, it just goes to show how much the LAN win means to Wolves. They've been chasing it for a long time and getting themselves something here that they can start building on. As I said, maybe, the point where that sort of breaks the seal, as it were, and can really push them forward. So moving forward, they move on to the defense now, Wolves. They have gone to T and Karaoke. Unsurprisingly, it is the site that they won both times on their defensive rotation. They won Office and Exhibition once as well, but T and Karaoke they were unbeaten in. So Dire Wolves, from a position of being slightly ahead, 6-4, having the opportunity to close this one out, could be seen as being really on the back foot right now.
Again, I just find it so interesting that the last time Wolves won was against Dire Wolves back in Jönköping. They haven't beat BDS, they haven't beat M&M twice, haven't beat Sonics across 8 maps in that time. It must feel good for them to get that winning feeling back, and this is why I'm excited for them, is I think it might just be that little bit of rocket fuel they need going into their final game on Saturday against Team Liquid to really drive them through to squeeze into 4th or 3rd place. I imagine at this point they could find themselves challenging 3rd place quite comfortably, which is the one that you want. The way it works, if you finish in 1st place, you get a bye into the 2nd round of the winners bracket. You finish 2nd or 3rd, you go into the 1st round of the winners bracket. You finish 4th in your group, you go straight into the lower bracket. So realistically, finishing 1st to 3rd is it's a dream. If you finish there, 1st place obviously the best, but 1st to 3rd is great because you get a 2nd chance if you do mess it up in one of your best of 3s, or are unlucky enough to be matched up against the eventual winners of the whole competition nice and early on. So avoiding 4th place is pivotal, and a win here would do just that for Wolves. Dire Wolves, though, we've already seen what they can do on the attack on this map already. 3 rounds I think they had back in that first half. There's no reason to say they can't do it again.
Harambe is going to open up terrace barricade there, look to potentially get inside. They've still got the electrification on Geisha wall, so Wolves a minute into the round and they're still fairly well set up here. They've not really been disrupted. They've got a shield in Drum, they've got a shield in Shrine, so they're holding that line. What a jump out from Bibu, and that could be a huge moment, not just for this round, but for this game and this team.
As well, there's nothing down, there's no air jabs, there's no claymores, there's nothing, just letting them straight through. They've got to burn their way through the shield, but they don't feel like they're able to right now. And Mowgli realizing, okay, there's no grenade following through. I can take a couple of gunfights here. Almost burns one more, gets a little peek in from the Ash up close, and now he's going to back away. Has done a bit of work there, wasted a bit of time. Half the round is gone, and Direwolves have lost a player.
P4 just holding the angle onto Geisha window, preventing any jump in there. Rotero drone is going to go and take the shield out. Not the end of the world, as nobody's playing on there anymore. Wolves have been happy enough to drop back. They've given up those positions. Need to be careful that they haven't given up too much. There's still a lot of time here. There are players inside of sight, and they're going to come under quite a lot of pressure now that Pecan has opened up that angle.
It's very much the same again. Wolves got themselves a kill and all drop back in towards sight, not looking to hold any more aggressive areas around Shrine or around Drum. They've done what they needed to there. They got an entry, they've done some damage to Harambe, and now they can pull back and play it safe. Direwolves have got 40 seconds to work their way out of what is a very dire situation. Otherwise, they're down 0-2, and things get real tough. Pecan finds one. Harambe taken down, though, in response.
Bibu's really leading from the front here. He's been a little bit quiet in the tournament so far, but he's stepping up at exactly the right time. P4 takes down Pecan. Jackie Wu tries to move in, out of ammo, has to switch to the pistol. He's not going to get a view, surely, because we know that Wolves have controlled these positions very well. They've been very confident. The final 2 kills come in. Bibu, Shinka, they managed to close it out, and that is going to be Wolves taking a win in a best of 3, Des.
Finally, 3 months have been waiting for an official win, and it has been delivered in a nice 2-0. It was far from the prettiest victory, but a victory is a victory. 4 points are 4 points, Tim.
They certainly are, and look at what it means to this team. Celebrations all round. Absolutely no surprise there. They've been trying for the longest time, and now the only question that remains is, does that, as I said, break the seal? Are we going to see Wolves accumulating more points?
Definitely a kicker for Direwolves as well to give them a shout. A really good performance by so many of their players across the 2 maps as well. It's a kicker because really Wolves were the team that were a bit downtrodden. They were the ones that looked like an easy 3, if not 4 points. But here they're left with absolutely nothing for Direwolves. They now find themselves in the same spot that Wolves started this day in.
They certainly do. Direwolves, it's starting to look a little bit dire. They've got difficult games coming up ahead of them now, and I've got to feel for them. You know, I've got to say that obviously the focus there has been on Wolves and getting that first win, but Direwolves, they played their part in that matchup, and for 2 maps to be lost in overtime in that fashion is not easy to take, and I really do feel for them.
It's a real stinger. They've still got to play against Sonics and against Liquid. I love that. Yeah,
says it all, doesn't it?
They've got Liquid and Sonic still to play. Liquid are looking a little bit shaky as well. So no doubt now their target turns towards that game against Liquid tomorrow. And they're saying, look, if we can beat Liquid, we're now in the running for 4th place. And Liquids are the ones who have got to prove themselves against Wolves on the last day. So I'm really excited to see how this group develops. It just got a lot spicier with Wolves getting their first official win in 3 months. We'll go to a quick break, and when we come back, the desk will break that series down for you.
I'm Nicholas Martin, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a 2-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position. That is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
Welcome back, friends, and I have to say our matchup between the two Wolves definitely does add a pinch of spice to our day here at Six Invitational 2023, but it's the European ones, the European Wolves. People talk about the African swallow, right? How
The
fast?
European swallow?
Yes.
I don't know that.
How fast are they? Which one can carry a heavier load? There you go.
Monty Python references are probably a little bit too highbrow. I don't know if we can get there.
For the average Rainbow Six fan, come on.
The average Asian people.
Average Rainbow Six fan just Chad facing it over there. Oh. Of course they'll know. They even guessed my Axel reference from Kingdom Hearts.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Yeah, they got it memorized. Anyways, let's not overuse this. Hello, welcome back to the Command Center. I'm also Medic, your host. With me are Mandy and James. And we're going to talk about this matchup because, unfortunately for you two, very unbiased analysts, you predicted dire wolves, but they're in dire straits.
Yeah.
Not the song.
Too many cultural references for one broadcast, Milosh. Look, yes, and dire wolves, I expected them, to be honest, I didn't expect them to necessarily win the game. I certainly expected them to win Skyscraper, and they didn't. And massive credit to Wolves. They fought so hard during this game. And yeah, while you do say I'm biased towards dire wolves, in terms of all the European teams, I'm a little bit biased towards the Wolves. I just think they have such a heart-sob story with how well they performed this year, and to finally find their first win in Six Invitational, you've got to really feel for them.
Yeah, I think something that Wolves did really well in both these series, both those games are really long. Those were two
overtimes.
OT games. Stamina, in my opinion, was the name of that game. And I think ultimately the Wolves really ended up outlasting the dire wolves. It just felt like they were a little bit more composed towards the end of both those games. They were just able to cross the line.
It's exhaustion at the end of it. I definitely agree with that lack of experience in comparison. But let's talk about a first map then. Break it down map by map. There's only two of them, so it should be pretty simple. In this case, 8-6, we talked about OTs. That was Kafe and Wolves Esports, our European team, were able to make it through. So what was the kind of X factor that Wolves Esports needed?
Well, to be honest, I thought dire wolves would have a real chance on Wolves' map here. Right. Yesterday, dire wolves managed 4 rounds in a row to kick off their defense against M&M here on Kafe, and then proceeded to lose every round then for, including all of their attacks. So I thought, look, if dire wolves can attack, I think they've got a shot here, and it turns out they could, but the difference here is that Wolves themselves broke through dire wolves' attacks far better than we saw from M&M yesterday. It ended at a 3-3 half. So massive credit to Wolves. I think they started this game on the right foot. They started the series on the right foot, and they even found themselves 3 match points when they switched onto that defensive half. And that was where the tables turned, and dire wolves really showed what they've got. They brought some new and different things. We saw the Monty picks from Jackie Wu, and I think that that was something that Wolves really struggled to deal with.
Yeah, I think for me, this game was pretty back and forth. I feel like this matchup was quite the mirror image of the attacks. It just felt like Direwolves were really good at getting these three-way pinches, but so are Wolves with the combination of like Mowgli, Rise, and P4 all kind of converging in at one point. It just felt like both teams were very good at doing that. To me, the breakthrough was that round 15 where it really mattered. Wolves closed out that one massive attack on the basement where they read that they needed to take the vertical, and that was the win condition. That final round, there was the mirror window with the two shield setups, and both of them were able to be taken down by vertical, and it just felt like Wolves had the right read going into that final attack to close it out.
But it is cutting it too close, especially for a team like Wolves Esports, where we know expectations off of the EUL team, where they've been sitting, they had twice in the year where they were #1 going into a major.
3 times if you include the combined standings at the end of 2022.
That's true. There you go. It's not too shabby, but still here. We have to be real for a moment before we go into map 2. It's a win. It's a very important one, actually. The fact that it's a 2-0 is incredible for Wolves Esports. It's 4 points. It gives them quite a bit of safety, but still against Direwolves.
Yeah, it is. And of course, if there's any team to get a win against for Wolves, it's going to be Direwolves. And that's why, if anything, there was extra pressure on this game. And in my opinion, extra pressure when we moved on to the second map, which I expected to be heavily Direwolves favored. But I really think in this series, the Wolves, who have been quite demotivated and quite shaken in a lot of their matches so far, they finally had a bit of resilience. There was one particular round on the second map where we saw right at the end, a really close one, really tight one, and Rise just gets up out of his chair. He's screaming, might be the oldest man in the tournament, but he does not lack for enthusiasm. And that is the kind of fire we need Wolves to keep on bringing to finally show us what they're made of. This is the first time we've seen them win a BO3 basically ever. And now they've proven they can do it. It's time to do it again.
I want to give a bit of hope to the Direwolves. Look, this is a really tough SI for them. I feel like realistically their expectations going into this weren't super high, but just being in the back room and listening to their comms was actually really sweet. There were some rounds where Souffle, he knew that Shinka was going to jump into a double frostbat, and so you could hear him go, bye-bye, like in the production room in the back, listening to them comm. Just Direwolves, they're having fun with it. These guys, especially on their defense of Skyscraper, they kind of started like running circles. They really started running circles around Wolves, like jumping out of windows, throwing C4s to spawn peek and that kind of thing. They were just having fun with it, and I really give them credit to it. It's been a really tough tournament for them, but they still seem in high spirits.
It's that experience, right, that people like Rise and Bibu bring into this matchup with 3 young players that can do the work. I mean, we're not talking any situation. We're talking 20 seconds left and you have diffuser in hand. What do? You call Pengu. He tells you exactly what to do in that situation. People like Rise and Bibu are definitely the ones that you want in those spots. Now, we went to map 2 on Skyscraper. We were talking about, they were jumping out windows, getting aggressive, but that's the dire Wolves. But it's not like Wolves Esports were not doing that either. They were getting picks also in many pivotal positions, opening up the map for themselves on defense.
Yeah, this match actually started really well for Wolves on the second map. They did win their first defense. Now, Direwolves both of these teams are defender-sided teams on this map, but Direwolves has the better win rate on attack and defense. And keeping in mind that this historically was one of Direwolves' best maps. They beat FaZe at the Jönköping Major here on Skyscraper. A huge dub for them. Of course, as you mentioned, it's been a real rough time for Direwolves. They've got 2 different players since they played that event. But Wolves, they didn't hold it back at all. They knew that even though this isn't their greatest map, they really pulled through. And this was once again a back and forth game. In fact, the teams kept trading rounds right until we switched halves, and Direwolves finally won 2 rounds in a row. And yet it didn't take much for Wolves to push into overtime and win it out once we got there.
I'm going to reiterate my point about stamina going into it. I just felt that towards the end half of that map too, it felt like Wolves were making less mistakes. It felt like they were more disciplined. They were playing together on the roam, and they were falling off when they needed to, in comparison to the Direwolves, who felt a little bit looser, especially on their defenses as well. It just felt like, as the game went on, the Wolves, they held their ground, and the Direwolves started to slip through the cracks.
And before we talk about our MVP, because the video is still running, how does this bode for these 2 squads going into the future, because the next couple of days are going to be incredibly important, and getting 4 points here to a victory, James, is pretty big.
Yeah, it is huge. Look, there's a lot still up for grabs for both of these teams. No one is out of the tournament as of yet. Both of these teams are kind of borderline for getting knocked out of the tournament, but of course, let's talk about P4. He was a fantastic player during this match, a rating of 112. He was high on the KD, and well, the graphics gone, but there were quite a few strong players. I was actually going to highlight Mowgli, if I may myself. 7 opening kills on that second map after being target banned. I'm pretty sure the Yana was directed at him. So pretty, credit to him. He jumped on the Ash, jumped on the line. He didn't have a positive KD at the end of the match, but he was certainly an opener.
Can Wolves sustain this to actually pass through into second phase of group stage?
Oh, that's a tall order, in my opinion. I think that their group is a little bit more consistent than they are at the moment. I think that the Wolves are they don't seem to have expanded their map pool and their strategy or developed their playstyle as much as the counterparts in their group, at least in my opinion. And so I think for the Wolves to press through, I think they've really got to mature a little bit more in the next play day.
Got an off day tomorrow. They're only playing day after, and that'll be the last day of the group stage.
Indeed, and they have their work cut out for them. Look, I will say, last moment, there was some clever things that they did, particularly in the operator ban phase. I like that they banned the Monty in the second map, didn't allow Direwolves to get that once again like they did on the first map. But as we stand at the moment, believe it or not, Wolves are actually in 3rd place in their group after getting the full 4 points. So I think the fact that they didn't drop Skyscraper is not only big confidence for them, because they're taking down Direwolves on a good map for them, but it's going to make waves within this group, because it's actually 3 teams in this group that are really struggling to hit their expectation. Wolves and Direwolves and Team Liquid.
Yeah.
Team Liquid.
Oddly enough.
How crazy is that?
I think for me, between these bottom 3, it's about which of these 3 teams can kind of pick it up on the last 2 play days. Which one of them can just sort of mature a little bit more in their playstyle next 2 days, and who can improve the quickest, in my opinion. Especially because there's so limited matches left to go for these 3 teams that they've really got to get a move on.
A day off for Wolves would be exactly what they need. But yeah, like you said, Liquid versus Wolves on the last day, it's going to be a tough one. Here's a recap of our group, however, just to show you how Group B has gone down so far. At the top, M&M and Sonics, 12 points for M&M and 8 for the Sonics that have yet to play their 3rd matchup here. Wolves taking the 4 points that are oh so needed. Direwolves and Liquid still at 0, with actually, if we're counting for the round differential, as you see, Team Liquid are 5th.
Oh, wow.
They're bottom of the group by only 1 round.
Yeah, I actually thought it was going to be the other way around, but there you go.
Wolves are also at -11, but with 4 points.
Yeah. So the thing here to remember is that while Wolves are ahead of both Direwolves and Liquid, they've actually played 1 more game than those 2 teams. So Wolves' maximum points from here on out is 8, and that's only if they manage to 2-0 Team Liquid, not tomorrow, but the following day. Whereas Liquid, who are on 0 points right now, they can end up on they have a potential possible 8 to gain as well, because they play both Wolves and Direwolves, and it's a similar position for Direwolves. They play both Liquid and Sonics. However, I think that they're definitely not going to get a win against Sonics. Yeah. In the current Liquid form, though, there's a real chance that that Liquid might actually be in one of the scariest and most precarious positions in this group. Direwolves and Liquid at the moment fighting against elimination.
Yeah, I think exactly the same thing as you. It just feels like we didn't get the Liquid that we expected to come into this SI. I think Liquid, off the back of that Yonchping major, so close to taking the title, to come into SI and then be at the bottom of the group is not what anyone could have expected.
Well, there it is. Thank you both very much for joining me here on the Command Center for this morning. But our shift is done. There's still the other half of our matches that'll be going live in just a bit, but we're going to swap out our, colleagues. Jackie will be here with the rest of the desk, and they'll be covering CAG versus Astralis and Lost One versus BDS. That'll be in just a bit. Thanks so much. See you in just a bit.